Maya Brooks thought she'd buried the past, until she boarded a flight to Miami and saw him in first class kissing another woman, living his best life while she'd spent 2 years raising their son alone. When her 4-year-old suddenly screamed, "Daddy!" and ran down the aisle, exposing Marcus Bennett's carefully hidden secret in front of 40 strangers, Maya's world shattered all over again. But the blonde wasn't his new girlfriend. She was his sister. And Marcus wasn't the man who cruelly abandoned them. He was a gambling addict who'd hit rock bottom so hard he'd written a suicide note. Now he's back, sober and desperate for redemption, and Maya faces an impossible choice: protect her heart and her son from the man who destroyed them, or risk everything on the possibility that people can actually change. This is a story about second chances, addiction, recovery, and whether love can survive the unforgivable. Subscribe and comment below if you believe in second chances, because you're about to witness the most emotional redemption journey you've ever seen. Maya's laptop slipped from her trembling fingers, catching against her knee before she steadied it. Through the smudged glass of the jet bridge window, Marcus leaned into the blonde, expensive navy suit fitting him like money, like success, like everything she'd clawed for alone, while he'd vanished into silence. "Mommy, is that the big plane?" Noah tugged her sleeve, crayon rolling off his lap. She couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. The blonde threw her head back, laughter soundless through the glass, her manicured hand resting on Marcus's forearm with practiced ease. 2 years. She'd survived 2 years of 3 a.m. feedings and maxed credit cards, and explaining to Noah why Daddy wasn't in any pictures, and Marcus had just moved on, moved up, first class, designer suit. Beautiful woman who'd never waddled through pregnancy or scraped together grocery money. Maya Brooks, party of 2, now boarding. The gate agent's voice sliced through her paralysis. Her hands felt disconnected from her body as she gathered Noah's scattered crayons. As she closed her laptop with mechanical precision, the conference couldn't be missed. 3 months of preparation, her first major presentation since the promotion. She'd worked too hard to let him steal this too. "Come on, baby." Her voice sounded normal, steady. "Let's get on the plane." Noah bounced beside her, oblivious to the earthquake fracturing his mother's chest. She lifted him, heavier now, 4 years of growth she'd navigated alone, and pressed his face against her shoulder as they entered the jet bridge. "Don't look up, don't let him see, just get to our seats." But Noah twisted, squirmy with excitement, turning his head at the precise moment they crossed into first class. His entire body went rigid in her arms. "Daddy!" The word detonated through the cabin. Head swiveled. The blonde's smile froze. Marcus's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth, his face draining to chalk white. Noah wrenched free of Maya's grip with 4-year-old determination, his small sneakers hitting the carpet before she could catch him. He sprinted down the aisle, backpack bouncing, arms outstretched. "Daddy, Daddy, it's me!" Maya stood paralyzed in the aisle entrance, 40 pairs of eyes burning into her skin. The flight attendant reached for Noah, but he dodged, launching himself at Marcus's seat. Marcus sat frozen, trapped, his mouth opening without sound. Marcus stared at the small boy hurtling toward him like he'd seen a ghost. His coffee cup hovered mid-air, forgotten. The color had drained from his face so completely he looked ill. Noah slammed into his knees, tiny arms wrapping around expensive suit pants. "Daddy, I missed you so much." The cabin held its breath. A businessman lowered his Wall Street Journal. The flight attendant stood frozen with a tray of champagne flutes. "Noah!" Marcus's voice cracked. He set down the coffee with shaking hands, then reached toward his son before stopping, fingers hovering like he'd forgotten how to touch him. Maya forced her legs to move. Each step down the first-class aisle felt like walking through concrete, 40 pairs of eyes tracking her progress. The blonde woman, perfect makeup, cashmere sweater, everything Maya wasn't, looked between Marcus and Noah with growing confusion. "Noah, come here." Maya's voice came out steadier than she felt, professional, like she was managing a difficult client, instead of watching her son cling to the man who'd abandoned them. "But Mommy, it's Daddy." Noah's face radiated pure joy, the kind of uncomplicated happiness that made Maya's chest crack open. "Daddy, why are you on the plane? You coming to see the fishies with us?" Marcus finally moved, hands settling on Noah's shoulders with devastating gentleness. "Hey, buddy." His eyes lifted to Maya's, and something in his expression, shock, pain, desperate apology, made her look away. I didn't know you'd be—" "Ma'am, you need to take your seat." The flight attendant materialized beside Maya. Professional smile strained. We're preparing for departure. Come on, Noah. Maya reached for her son. Wait. The blonde woman stood, gathering her purse. Marcus, what's... Claire, I'll explain. Marcus's hands tightened on Noah's shoulders. I'll explain everything. Claire, not a girlfriend. A name that meant nothing to Maya except another witness to this humiliation. Daddy, why are you ignoring Mommy? Noah's question silenced the cabin again. You didn't say hi to Mommy. Marcus's eyes met Maya's again. In 2 years, she'd imagined this moment 1,000 times. What she'd say, how she'd react, the armor she'd wear. But nothing had prepared her for the raw devastation in his face, or the way her son looked between them with confusion replacing joy. Ma'am, the flight attendant's voice sharpened. Now, please. Maya bent and pulled Noah from Marcus's grip. Her son's protest cut through her like glass. Noah's grip tightened on Marcus's sleeve. His small fingers twisted the expensive fabric, wrinkling it. Buddy, you need to... Marcus's voice cracked. He cleared his throat, tried again. You need to let Mommy get you settled. But I want to sit with you. Maya reached for Noah's shoulder. Her hand trembled despite her careful composure. Come on, baby. We need to get to our seats. Mom? The flight attendant materialized beside her, tablet in hand. Professional smile strained. I'm afraid we need to resolve this quickly. We're about to close the cabin door. I understand. Maya's voice came out clipped. Noah, now. Don't wanna. Noah burrowed deeper against Marcus's chest. The businessman across the aisle made a show of checking his watch. Behind Maya, someone cleared their throat impatiently. Heat crawled up Maya's neck. 4 years of building a life, maintaining dignity, projecting competence, unraveling in first class while strangers watched her lose control of her own child. Marcus shifted. His arms came around Noah properly now, and something in his face crumpled. I missed you too, buddy. So much. The tenderness in his voice sent a knife through Maya's chest. Then why'd you go away? Marcus closed his eyes. When he opened them, they found Maya's. Anguish lived there, raw and undefended. She looked away first. The flight attendant tapped her tablet. Actually, Mom, I have a solution. She gestured across the aisle. Seat 3C is available. Since your son is still lapchild age, regulations require he stay with you in a seat that permits it. First class is configured for that. Economy isn't full, but the available seats aren't appropriate for a lapchild. Maya's stomach dropped. You're saying you'd need to take 3C. It's the only option if you want him with you for takeoff. The blonde woman leaned forward. I'm so sorry, this is my fault for suggesting first class. Her voice carried genuine regret, no territorial edge, which somehow made it worse. Noah bounced on Marcus's lap. We get to sit with Daddy. Or, the flight attendant continued, you can deplane and take a later flight. But I'd need to know now. The conference registration started at 2, the opening keynote at 3, Maya's first networking session at 4:30. She'd prepared for months. Marcus stayed silent, didn't advocate, didn't manipulate, just held their son and waited for her decision. Fine. The word tasted like glass. 3C. Noah cheered. Maya wanted to disappear. Noah bounced in the middle seat, pointing at the window. Look, Mommy, we're so high up. We haven't taken off yet, baby. Maya's fingers fumbled with the seatbelt buckle, too aware of Marcus's presence across the narrow aisle, close enough she could smell his cologne. Different than before, something cedar and subtle. She focused on the belt mechanism. Click, tighten. Noah secure. Ma'am, you'll need to buckle yourself as well. Right. She was still standing, hovering protectively over Noah, like she could physically block Marcus's proximity. Maya dropped into the window seat, pulled her own belt across her lap with sharp movements. 3 hours. She could manage 3 hours of looking anywhere except across the aisle. She reached for her bag, searching for something, anything, to occupy her attention. Hi. The blonde woman leaned forward. Her expression held careful sympathy. Maya's jaw tightened. She wasn't interested in whatever this woman had to say, wasn't interested in, I'm Claire, Marcus's sister. The words didn't land immediately. Maya blinked. I know this is... Claire glanced at Marcus, who sat rigid, staring at his hands. I'm so sorry. If I'd known you'd be on this flight, I'd have... She stopped. I'm just really sorry. Sister, not girlfriend, not the woman he'd chosen, not the replacement, not the evidence of how completely he'd moved on. Sister. Maya's carefully constructed narrative splintered. The kiss at the gate. Affectionate, yes, but suddenly recontextualized. The intimate proximity. Familial, not romantic. Claire. Marcus's voice was quiet. Warning. She deserves to know I'm not. Claire met Maya's eyes again. I'm just here to support him. That's all. The plane lurched backward, tug, pushing them from the gate. Noah pressed his face to the window. We're moving! Maya's mind raced, recalibrating. If Claire was his sister, then Marcus wasn't here with a new relationship, wasn't flaunting his happiness, wasn't... But that didn't answer why he needed support, or where he'd been for 2 years, or why he was here at all. The cabin lights brightened as they leveled out. The seatbelt sign chimed off, releasing passengers into restless movement. Noah didn't notice. He twisted toward Marcus, knees digging into Maya's thigh as he leaned across the aisle. How does the plane stay up? Does it got really big engines? Can I see the cockpit? My teacher says pilots have lots of buttons. Do you know how many buttons? Marcus's hand trembled as he accepted the water from the flight attendant. Pretty big engines, yeah, and lots of buttons. Maybe 100? 100? Noah's eyes went wide. That's more than my crayons. Maya accepted her coffee without looking at the attendant. The cup burned her palm through the thin napkin. Claire leaned forward slightly. Marcus, do you want me to... Don't bother. Maya's voice cut clean. She still hadn't looked away from the window, though there was nothing to see but clouds. It doesn't matter. The words settled like frost. Claire withdrew, opening a paperback she clearly had no intention of reading. Noah launched into a story about his friend Tyler, who had a hamster that escaped, and they found it in the toy bin eating goldfish crackers. Marcus listened, like Noah was describing the cure for cancer. Total attention, soft questions, genuine laughter at the right moments. It made Maya's chest hurt. 20 minutes later, Noah's chatter slowed. His head drooped against the seat back, eyes fluttering. Daddy, you gonna hold my hand? Marcus's breath caught. If that's okay with your mom. Noah didn't wait for permission. His small hand shot across the aisle, fingers wrapping around Marcus's thumb. Then his other hand found Maya's. Both, he mumbled, already half asleep. Hold both. Maya froze. Marcus went absolutely still. Noah's breathing deepened. Slack with sleep, his grip remained firm, binding his parents together across 3 feet of aircraft aisle. Neither of them moved. Minutes crawled past. Maya's arm developed a cramp. She didn't adjust. Marcus had closed his eyes, but tears leaked from the corners. He didn't wipe them away. Claire set down her unread book. I don't know what he told you. Her voice barely carried over the engine hum. Or didn't tell you, that's his story. Maya's jaw tightened. But that woman you saw him with, Claire continued. That's me. Just his sister. He hasn't been with anyone. The information should have brought relief. Instead, it opened new questions, harder ones. He's trying, Claire said. I know that doesn't fix anything, but it's true. Maya watched Noah's chest rise and fall, his face peaceful in sleep, one hand gripping each parent like they were the anchors keeping him tethered to earth. We're beginning our descent into Miami. The pilot's announcement crackled through the cabin. Noah stirred, yawning. We're almost there? He sat up, releasing both hands to rub his eyes. Daddy, you coming to our hotel? We can swim in the pool. Marcus looked at Maya, waiting. Every passenger in first class seemed to hold their breath. The plane dropped altitude. Maya's ears popped. Prepare for landing. Marcus's voice broke the silence, raw and desperate. Maya, I know you don't owe me anything. His composure cracked. But please, can we talk? Not now, but sometime this week, please. Maya turned back to the window. Turquoise water glittered below, promising escape into warm oblivion. She said nothing. The wheels kissed tarmac with a rubber shriek. Noah pressed his face to Maya's shoulder, whimpering. Ears hurt, Mummy. Maya cupped his head, her thumb stroking small circles behind his ear. I know, baby, swallow, it'll pop in a minute. The plane decelerated, engines roaring in reverse thrust. Noah's whimper escalated to a cry. Marcus leaned across the aisle without thinking. Hey, buddy. Try this. His hand reached for Noah's other ear, fingers gentle against the small head. Their hands collided in the space between seats. Maya went rigid. Marcus's palm pressed against her knuckles, his thumb crossing her wrist. Neither pulled back. For 3 seconds, maybe 4, they held their son together, hands layered like a promise they'd broken 2 years ago. Heat shot up Maya's arm. Her breath caught. Marcus's eyes found hers. Something raw flickered there. Grief, maybe. Hope, fear. Noah hiccuped, his crying softening as the pressure released. Better now. Maya withdrew first, tucking her hands against her stomach. Marcus pulled back slowly, fingers curling into a fist. The plane taxied toward the gate. Around them, passengers retrieved bags from overhead bins, phones emerging from airplane mode with a chorus of chimes. Claire closed her book. Her gaze moved between Maya and Marcus, something careful and bright crossing her expression. She didn't speak. Noah sagged against Maya, exhausted. His earlier excitement had burned through him like kindling, hot and fast, leaving ash. His eyelids drooped. The gate jetway connected with a mechanical thunk. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Miami International." Passengers surged into the aisle. First class cleared quickly, business travelers efficient with their roller bags and laptop cases. Maya didn't move. Noah was boneless in her lap, nearly asleep despite the chaos. Marcus stood but didn't step into the aisle. He lifted his bag from the overhead bin, then paused, looking down at them. Can I carry him? Just to the gate." Maya's throat tightened. Noah was heavy, getting heavier every month. Her arms already ached from the flight. "I've got him." "Maya, I said I've got him." She shifted Noah higher, his head lolling against her collarbone, rose to her feet. Her legs protested, muscles stiff from 3 hours of tension. Marcus stepped back, giving her space. Claire moved into the aisle ahead of them, glancing back once before heading toward the exit. The wheels kissed tarmac with a rubber shriek. Noah pressed his face to Maya's shoulder, whimpering. "Ears hurt, Mommy." Maya cupped his head, her thumb stroking small circles behind his ear. "I know, baby. Swallow. It'll pop in a minute." The plane decelerated, engines roaring in reverse. Across the aisle, Marcus leaned forward. "Sometimes yawning helps," he said quietly, "or pretending to blow your nose." Noah lifted his head, bottom lip trembling. "It really hurts." Marcus reached across instinctively, his hand settling on Noah's knee. Maya's hand was already there. Their fingers collided, warm skin against skin for the first time in over 2 years. Maya froze. The contact sang through her nerve endings like an electric current. Marcus's thumb rested against her knuckle, his palm half covering hers. She should pull away. She needed to pull away. But Noah whimpered again, and somehow neither of them moved. "Big yawn, buddy," Marcus demonstrated, exaggerating the motion. "Like this." Noah mimicked him, mouth opening wide. His ear popped audibly. Relief flooded his small face. "Better?" "Yeah." Noah's hand grabbed both of theirs, pressing them together. "You fixed it, Daddy." Claire glanced up from her book, something unreadable crossing her features. The cabin lights flickered as the plane taxied toward the gate. Maya finally pulled her hand free, the loss of contact leaving her skin cold. She busied herself gathering Noah's scattered toy cars, shoving them into his backpack with trembling fingers. The seatbelt sign dinged off. Passengers lurched into the aisles, grabbing overhead luggage. Marcus stood slowly, waiting. "Maya, we need to get our bags." She lifted Noah onto her hip, though her arms ached, needing the barrier of his solid weight between them. "Just 5 minutes, please. There's so much I need to—" "No!" The word came out harder than she'd intended. Noah flinched against her shoulder. Marcus's jaw worked. He nodded once, stepping back into his row to let them pass. Claire touched Maya's elbow as they shuffled toward the exit. "He's staying at the Bayfront. Same conference, I think. If you change your mind about talking." Maya didn't respond. She kept moving, Noah's hot breath against her neck, Marcus's phantom touch still burning on her hand. The jetway stretched ahead, fluorescent and narrow. Behind her she heard Marcus gathering his things. Claire murmured something too low to catch. Noah twisted to look back. "Bye, Daddy." "Bye, buddy." Marcus's voice cracked. "See you soon." Not if I can help it, Maya thought. But Noah was already asking when, and her silence felt like a lie, crossed his small face. "Better." Marcus's hand slid away first. Maya pulled hers back, tucking it against her stomach, where her pulse hammered wild beneath her ribs. "Thanks," she managed, the word barely audible. Marcus nodded once, then sat back in his seat. Claire watched the whole exchange with something unreadable in her expression. The plane taxied, passengers gathered belongings. Maya kept Noah close, avoiding Marcus's eyes. Tuesday, 1 p.m., Miami Bayfront Hotel. The lobby aquarium stretched 20 feet high, tropical fish darting through artificial coral. Noah's nose left smudges on the glass while Maya handled check-in. "Ms. Brooks!" The agent beamed at her screen. "Conference package. You've been upgraded to a junior suite, connecting rooms perfect for you and your son." Maya's shoulders dropped half an inch. "Space. Finally. And I see your party of 2 connects to Mr. Bennett's room." The agent's smile never wavered. "Rooms 1507 and 1508 with the adjoining door. So convenient for colleagues traveling together. The blood drained from Maya's face. "I need a different room." "Oh," typing sounds. "I'm so sorry. With the conference and the medical convention, we're completely full until Thursday." "A different hotel, then." "Ma'am, all conference events are here. Registration, panels, networking." Maya closed her eyes, breathed through her nose. Fine. She took the keys, grabbed Noah's hand harder than necessary, and headed for the elevators. Across the lobby, Marcus and Claire approached the front desk. Maya stabbed the elevator button. "Tuesday, 7 p.m., room 1507. Noah went still, his toy car frozen mid-race across the bedspread. "Mommy, listen." Through the wall came Marcus's voice. Not the connecting door, the regular wall. He wasn't speaking loudly, but the words carried, indistinct but unmistakable. Noah's entire body lit up. "Daddy's right there." He scrambled off the bed and pressed his ear to the wall. "Daddy! Daddy, can you hear me?" The voice stopped. Silence stretched. Then, muffled, "Noah? Buddy?" Noah started crying, big, gulping sobs of overwhelming emotion. "Daddy, I miss you. Come play with me." He banged his small fists against the plaster. "Daddy!" Through the wall, Marcus's response came broken, wrecked. Maya stood rooted by the desk. Her son was falling apart, separated from his father by 15 feet and 2 years of absence. She closed her eyes, took a shaking breath, walked to the connecting door. Her hand hovered over the lock. On the other side, Noah kept calling, voice fracturing. She could hear Marcus too, rough sounds that might have been words or might have been crying. 2 years of Noah asking where Daddy was. 2 years of her saying, "He's working far away, baby." The hand holding on the plane. That electric shock of skin against skin. Protect him, let him heal. Her fingers turned the lock. The deadbolt clicked open. She pulled her side of the connecting door inward. The other side, Marcus's side, remained closed. Maya raised her fist, knocked twice. The door on Marcus's side unlocked with a soft click. It opened slowly, revealing him in worn jeans and a faded grey t-shirt. Barefoot, eyes red-rimmed, every emotion naked on his face. Behind him, Claire stood gathering her purse. Marcus looked at Maya first, then down at Noah. "Hey, buddy." Noah launched forward, wrapping himself around Marcus's legs. Marcus bent and lifted him, and Noah clung with desperate fingers, face buried in his father's neck. Claire moved toward the door. "I'll grab dinner downstairs." She squeezed Maya's arm in passing, unexpected, warm. "Give you space." Maya remained in the doorway, didn't cross the threshold. Marcus didn't ask her to. He stood just inside his room, holding Noah, waiting. Silence stretched between them. One supervised visit. Maya's voice came out harder than she intended. 30 minutes. In my room where I control the situation. You don't make promises you can't keep. You don't ask him questions about our life. You don't tell him you're staying or coming back. She paused. You read him one bedtime story and then you leave. Understood? Marcus nodded once. Understood. Thank you. They moved to Maya's room. For 30 minutes, Maya watched from the desk chair as Marcus sat cross-legged on the carpet with Noah and his collection of toy cars. Marcus asked about each one, which was fastest, which was Noah's favorite, why the blue one had a missing wheel. He listened to elaborate stories about races and crashes, laughed when Noah made engine noises that dissolved into giggles. No phone, no distraction, just complete presence. When Noah accidentally crashed a car into Marcus's knee, Marcus grabbed a red sedan and crashed it back with exaggerated sound effects. Noah shrieked with delight. It looked easy, natural. Maya's chest tightened. She'd expected him to fumble, to check his watch, to make this harder for her by being obviously wrong for Noah. Instead, he was just there, patient when Noah repeated himself, gentle when the cars tangled together, present in a way that made her see exactly what Noah had been missing, what she'd been missing. She rebuilt her walls brick by brick. At 7:40 she stood. Time's up. Oh, Mommy, a deal's a deal, buddy. Marcus cut Noah off gently. Mommy said 30 minutes. He gathered the scattered cars back into their bag. What book you want for bedtime? Noah scrambled to his backpack and emerged clutching Goodnight Moon. They settled on the bed. Noah in the middle, Marcus reading, Maya in the chair maintaining distance. Marcus gave the old lady a creaky voice, made the kittens mew. Noah giggled into the pillows. When the story ended, Marcus closed the book, set it on the nightstand. Noah sat up. Tomorrow? Marcus's eyes found Maya's, asking permission he had no right to expect. Maya's throat locked. Say no. Protect him. But Noah's hopeful face, "Daddy, you gonna read me stories every night now?" Noah's voice climbed with excitement. "Are you coming home?" The spell shattered. Marcus's expression broke open. He didn't look away from the pain in the question. "I don't know what happens next, buddy." His voice stayed steady through visible effort. "That's up to Mommy, but I hope I get to see you again soon." Honest, not empty. Noah accepted it with the resilience of 4-year-olds everywhere. "Okay." He threw his arms around Marcus's neck. "Love you, Daddy." Marcus's voice fractured. "Love you too. So much." He kissed Noah's forehead and stood. At the connecting door, he stopped, looked at Maya. "Thank you. For tonight. For 30 minutes. He swallowed hard. "I know I don't deserve it." Maya said nothing, but she didn't slam the door either. Instead, he was exactly what Noah needed. At 7:40, Maya cut through Noah's protest. "Time's up." Marcus didn't hesitate. "A deal's a deal, buddy." Mommy said 30 minutes. He glanced at Noah. "What book for bedtime?" Noah scrambled to his backpack, emerged clutching Goodnight Moon. They settled on the bed, Noah between them, Marcus reading, Maya rigid in the chair she'd dragged closer. Marcus gave each object a different voice. The old lady whispering hush got a creaky wobble that made Noah dissolve into giggles. When the story ended, Marcus closed the book. Noah looked up at him. "Tomorrow?" Marcus's gaze found Maya, asking permission. She was at another cliff edge. No would shatter Noah. Yes would crack open a door she might never close again. Noah added, voice small, "Daddy, you gonna read me stories every night now? Are you coming home?" The spell broke. Marcus's face showed clean pain. He didn't hedge. "I don't know what happens next, buddy. That's up to Mommy, but I hope I get to see you again soon." Honest. Hopeful. Not promising what he couldn't deliver. Noah accepted it with the resilience of children. "Okay," he yawned. "Love you, Daddy." Marcus's voice fractured. "Love you too. So much." He kissed Noah's forehead and stood. At the connecting door, he paused, looked at Maya. "Thank you. For tonight. For 30 minutes. I know I don't deserve it." Maya didn't respond, but she didn't slam the door either. She locked it after him, sat on the bed beside Noah, who was already drowsy, warm weight against her side. He burrowed closer. "Mommy, Daddy's different now." Maya stroked his hair. "Different how, baby?" "He didn't leave even when I bonked his knee hard." Noah's words slurred with sleep. "He's not scary anymore." Maya went still. "Was Daddy scary before?" "I don't remember him before." Another yawn. "But in the pictures you show me, his eyes look scary. Tonight, his eyes look like yours." He fell asleep, mid-breath. Maya sat frozen in the dark. She thought of the photos she'd carefully curated. Marcus smiling at their engagement party. Marcus laughing at Claire's wedding. Marcus holding the positive pregnancy test. She'd chosen happy memories to give Noah a father who wasn't a ghost. But Noah had seen something she'd missed. In those old photos, Marcus's eyes held chaos, bright but fractured, present but not quite there. Tonight, they'd been clear. Wednesday morning, 7:30 a.m. Maya's alarm dragged her from shallow sleep. Noah sprawled across the hotel bed, his small body tucked against hers. He'd climbed in around 3 after a nightmare about Daddy disappearing. She lay still, processing yesterday's chaos, steeling herself for today. Grace was flying in this afternoon. Support, yes, but also the inevitable confrontation about Marcus. Maya showered and dressed in burgundy sheath and blazer. Noah woke as she applied mascara. "Is Daddy having breakfast with us?" Her chest tightened. "No, sweetheart. Daddy has his own conference things." His face fell, but he nodded. Room service arrived at 8. Pancakes for Noah, yogurt and coffee for Maya that tasted like cardboard. At 9, they headed downstairs. The conference ran all day, childcare provided in the hotel's kids club. Maya watched Noah join the other children, anxiety spiking. She'd never left him with strangers, but Grace's flight didn't land until 2. Noah seemed excited about the play structure. Maya forced herself toward the main hall. The opening session began at 9:30. She found a seat in the middle of the packed ballroom, trying to absorb the keynote speaker's words about adaptive strategy frameworks. At 10, someone slid into the empty seat beside her. She glanced over. Marcus. Full professional mode. Crisp suit, conference badge, leather portfolio. He kept his eyes forward, but his presence was electromagnetic. Maya's concentration shattered. Same cologne he'd worn when they were together. Bergamot and cedar. 10 excruciating minutes passed. Marcus leaned slightly toward her, voice low. "I'm not trying to torture you. This session is required for my track. I can move if you want. Maya was torn. Asserting boundaries would cause a scene. Stay, but don't talk to me. He nodded, sat back. The keynote droned on. Maya was hyper-aware of every shift in Marcus's posture, every breath. Around them, other attendees occasionally glanced their way, colleagues, couple, making assumptions she couldn't control. She noticed something else. Other professionals greeted Marcus during the break, shook his hand, respectful. Whatever had happened to him, he was rebuilding credibility. The conference broke for lunch at 12:30. Maya deliberately sat with colleagues from her company, including Todd Mitchell, affable, charming, safe. He asked about Noah, complimented her insights during the morning breakout. She relaxed slightly. Across the dining area, Marcus ate alone at a small table, reviewing notes. He glanced up once, saw her with Todd. Something crossed his face. He looked away immediately. After lunch, Maya checked on Noah at the kids' club. He was building blocks, happy. She texted Grace. Landed yet? Just touched down. Getting luggage. See you at hotel by 3. At 2:15, Maya entered the speaker's ready room, reviewing her panel notes. This panel was crucial. Youngest person on it, only woman of color, her chance to showcase strategic thinking to senior executives. The door opened. Marcus entered. Her heart sank. Of course, the universe was conspiring. Marcus stopped when he saw her, equally surprised. The other two panelists hadn't arrived. They were alone. Silence stretched. I didn't know you'd be on this panel, he said quietly. I can ask the moderator to replace me if this is too difficult. Pride kicked in. Don't be ridiculous, we're professionals. We can share a stage for an hour. Okay. Another silence. Then, for what it's worth, Noah's lucky to have you. The way you've raised him alone, he's incredible. You're incredible. Her walls cracked. The other panelists arrived, breaking the moment. Torn, asserting boundaries would cause a scene. She whispered back, stay, but don't talk to me. He nodded and sat back. The panel began at 2:30. Maya found her rhythm quickly, articulate, confident, insightful. Her analysis of adaptive market positioning drew nods from the moderator. Senior executives in the front row leaned forward. Then Marcus spoke. His depth startled her. Not the surface-level buzzwords she expected, but nuanced analysis of risk assessment frameworks. His delivery was humble, thoughtful. He credited other panelists' points, built on their ideas rather than dominating. This wasn't the arrogant man she remembered. The moderator posed a question about balancing risk and stability in corporate strategy. Marcus paused before answering. The greatest risk is believing you're invincible. Real strategy means acknowledging vulnerabilities and building systems to protect against your own worst tendencies. He wasn't looking at Maya. But she knew he was talking about more than business. We create accountability structures, he continued. Regular audits of our assumptions, external verification of our blind spots. Because left unchecked, our greatest strengths become our catastrophic weaknesses. The audience was captivated. Several people scribbled notes. Maya's throat tightened. After the panel ended at 3:30, executives swarmed them both. A woman from a Fortune 500 asked Maya about her strategic consulting availability. A senior VP wanted Marcus's perspective on organizational resilience. Maya shook hands, exchanged cards, smiled professionally, but she was hyper-aware of Marcus 10 feet away doing the same. The executives treated him with genuine respect, asked follow-up questions. One mentioned reading his recent article in Strategy Review. Who was this man? What happened to the one who disappeared? Todd appeared at her elbow, grinning. You killed it up there. Drinks later to celebrate? My mother just landed. Maybe tomorrow. I'll hold you to that. As Todd walked away, Maya felt eyes on her. She glanced over. Marcus had noticed Todd's easy familiarity. Something flickered across his face. Not anger, but resignation. Like he was watching something he'd lost the right to protect. He turned back to his conversation without interfering. Maya's phone buzzed. Grace, at hotel, where are you? Maya, lobby in 5. She gathered her materials, preparing for the next confrontation. Grace went rigid. The elevator doors opened on the 15th floor. They walked to Maya's room in loaded silence. Once inside with the door closed, Grace turned to Maya with barely controlled fury. Marcus is here? You saw him? He's had contact with Noah? Maya explained the plane encounter, the room situation, last night's supervised visit, trying to frame it as forced circumstances, not choice. Grace was having none of it. You allowed that man near my grandson after he abandoned you both? Have you lost your mind? They argued in fierce whispers while Noah played with his cars, oblivious. What was I supposed to do? Noah saw him. He was crying through the wall. Maya's voice cracked. You should have seen him, Mom. He needs his father. He needs stability. Not a man who'll disappear again the moment things get hard. Grace's eyes flashed. You're setting him up for heartbreak. Maya felt her own doubts voiced through her mother. They tabled the argument for Noah's sake. Grace suggested taking Noah to dinner at the hotel restaurant to let Maya decompress. Maya gratefully accepted, needing space to think. Alone in her room at 6:15, Maya lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Her phone buzzed. Text from Todd. Great job on the panel today. A few of us are grabbing drinks at the rooftop bar at 8 if you want to join. Would love to hear more of your thoughts on the efficiency metrics discussion. Friendly, professional, interested. Todd was safe, stable, actually present in her life. No chaos, no abandonment history. Then another text, this one from an unknown number. This is Marcus. Claire gave me your number. I hope that's okay. I'm not texting to pressure you. I just wanted you to know I'm in room 1508 if Noah needs anything. And thank you again for last night. It meant everything. At 7, Grace returned with Noah, who was full and sleepy from dinner. Grace was calmer but still tense. As Maya got Noah ready for bed, a knock sounded on the connecting door. Grace stiffened. Don't you dare open that. But Noah heard it too. Daddy! He ran to the door. Maya caught him. Noah, it's bedtime, not tonight. Noah's face crumpled. But Daddy promised to read to me. He said soon. Marcus called through the door, having heard. It's okay, buddy. Another night. Sleep good. His footsteps retreated. Noah cried himself to sleep. Grace said coldly, This is what I meant. He's already disappointing him. Maya didn't respond, but doubt flooded her. At 8:30, Noah was finally asleep. Grace had gone to her own room. Maya sat alone in the dark. Her phone showed Todd's unanswered text about drinks. She thought about the panel, Marcus's unexpected depth, the executive's respect for him, his answer about vulnerability and strategy. She thought about Noah's tears. She thought about her mother's warnings. At 9, she made a decision. She opened her laptop and pulled up the Hotel Business Center's printing services. She needed to understand what happened to Marcus, not from him, but from objective sources. She started searching public records, court documents, anything that might explain his 2-year absence. Maya stared at the bankruptcy document glowing on her laptop screen. The numbers blurred as her eyes lost focus. $187,000. The figure didn't feel real, more like a punchline to a joke she hadn't heard yet. She scrolled through the creditor list. Caesar's Palace, Borgata, PokerStars, BetOnline. The names marched down the page in clinical court formatting, each one representing money Marcus hadn't had, bets he'd lost, a hole he'd dug himself into while she'd been pregnant with his child. The address listed under current residence made her throat close. Desert Hope Treatment Center, 2215 S Rancho Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada. Treatment. He'd been in treatment, not living it up with some new woman, not traveling the world without a care, not simply abandoning them because fatherhood scared him. He'd been sick. The thought didn't comfort her. If anything, it complicated everything. Anger was simple. Anger at a selfish man who'd walked away was straightforward, clean. But this, addiction, illness, treatment centers, this was messy. This required compassion she wasn't sure she had left to give. Her phone buzzed against the desk, the vibration startling her in the quiet room. She glanced at the screen. Unknown number. Not Marcus. She'd saved his earlier text, however reluctantly. She opened the message. Ms. Brooks, this is Claire Bennett. I know this is inappropriate, but I feel I need to reach out. My brother doesn't know I'm contacting you. You deserve to know what happened to him. The real story. Can we meet for coffee tomorrow morning before the conference? 7 a.m. at the Starbucks across the street. I promise I'm not trying to manipulate you. You just deserve the truth to make an informed decision. Claire Maya read it twice. Then a third time, the sister. The woman she'd mistaken for a girlfriend on the plane. The one who'd looked at her with sympathy instead of smugness. She should delete it. She should block the number. She should protect herself from whatever story Claire wanted to tell, because stories were dangerous. Stories made you feel things. Stories eroded the walls you'd spent 2 years building brick by careful brick. But her fingers hovered over the keyboard, not deleting. Instead, she found herself typing, 7 a.m., I'll be there. She hit send before she could stop herself. Maya sat at the corner table, her second coffee going cold between her palms. The morning sun slanted through the Starbucks window, harsh and revealing. She'd left Noah sprawled across the hotel bed, Grace stationed in the chair like a sentinel. Her mother hadn't been happy about this meeting, but she couldn't argue against gathering intelligence. At 7 exactly, Claire entered. She carried 2 fresh coffees and a paper bag of pastries, her movements careful, apologetic. She slid into the chair across from Maya, with the posture of someone approaching a wounded animal. "Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would." Maya wrapped her hands tighter around her cup. "I need to understand what happened." Claire set down the coffees and took a breath. Marcus's gambling started in college. Poker nights, football pools, small stuff. But it intensified when he got his first real job at 25. By the time he met you, he was hiding significant debts, but maintaining the appearance of success. Maya's chest tightened. She remembered those early days. Marcus's confidence, his expensive dinners, the easy way he talked about investments and risk. When you got engaged, when you told him about the pregnancy, Claire's voice fractured. He'd already accumulated close to $200,000 in debt. Instead of telling you, he convinced himself he could fix it, win it back. The baby was coming and he thought he just needed one good weekend. The pastries sat untouched between them. He lost $80,000 in a single weekend in Vegas. Maxed every credit card borrowed from loan sharks. The shame ate him alive. Claire's eyes were wet now. He didn't leave because he stopped loving you. He left because he was drowning and thought you'd be safer without him dragging you down. Maya's throat burned. "Safer? I was 6 months pregnant and he vanished." "I know." Claire didn't flinch from it. "What he did was catastrophic. I'm not excusing it. I'm explaining it." The Starbucks hummed around them, espresso machines hissing, morning commuters ordering their fuel, normal people doing normal things while Maya's past rearranged itself. "I found him in a Vegas motel 2 months after he disappeared," Claire continued. "He'd gambled away everything he had left. He'd written a suicide note." Maya's coffee cup rattled against the table. "I tracked him through credit card records. Got there hours after he'd written it." Claire's composure cracked completely. "My brother was going to kill himself because he couldn't face what he'd done." The words hung between them like smoke. "I forced him into treatment, 6-month residential program, then intensive outpatient therapy, and Gamblers Anonymous. He spent the first year just trying to survive, detoxing from the addiction, processing the damage, declaring bankruptcy." Claire wiped her eyes. "He didn't contact you because he was ashamed, yes, but also because his therapists told him not to reach out until he had something real to offer, besides apologies." Maya found her voice. "Why now? He's been sober from gambling for 22 months. Steady job. He took a massive step down in position and salary. JA meetings 3 times a week, ongoing therapy. 3 months ago, his therapist agreed he was stable enough to attempt contact." Claire leaned forward. "But he was terrified you'd refuse to even hear him out. When I mentioned this Miami conference, he saw an opportunity. Neutral territory. A chance encounter where you might actually listen. He planned this." "He hoped for it," Claire corrected. "He didn't expect Noah to be there. He thought you'd be alone and he'd have a chance to explain before involving your son." She paused. "The plane. That was the universe, not manipulation." Maya's mind spun through the last 48 hours, reframing everything. "Is he going to relapse?" The question came out raw. "Can I trust he won't disappear again?" Claire's answer was careful, painfully honest. "I can't promise he'll never struggle. Addiction is lifelong. What I can tell you is he's done the work, real unglamorous daily work. He has a sponsor, he calls. He has a therapist. He has a support system." She held Maya's gaze. "He's not the same man who left you." A beat of silence. "But Maya, you don't owe him anything. Not forgiveness, not a relationship, not access to Noah. If you decide it's too risky, I'll support that. So will he. I just wanted you to have the full story." Maya sat with the weight of it. "Finally, I found his bankruptcy records last night. Are there hidden creditors? More debts waiting. Everything was disclosed and discharged. Payment plan for student loans and his car, that's it. Full transparency." Maya nodded slowly. Her phone buzzed. "Grace, Noah asking for you. Where are you?" 7:55. "Time to go." She stood, then paused. "Thank you for finding him, for telling me this." Claire's eyes brimmed. "Thank you for listening." Maya crossed the hotel lobby at 8:05, her mind a hurricane of Claire's words. Gambling addiction, suicide note, treatment facility. The marble floor clicked under her heels, the rhythm failing to ground her spiraling thoughts. Movement near the gym entrance caught her peripheral vision. Marcus emerged in grey athletic shorts and a damp t-shirt, earbuds trailing white cords, a towel slung over his shoulder. He hadn't seen her yet, his attention on his phone as he walked. She stopped. He looked healthy. That was the word her brain supplied. Healthy in a way that went beyond physical fitness. The frantic energy she remembered from their last months together, the edge of chaos that had buzzed beneath his skin, even when he'd smiled, was gone. His movements were measured, present. His shoulders sat lower, looser, not the tight coil of a man drowning in secrets. As if he felt her stare, his head lifted, their eyes locked across 30 feet of lobby. Maya didn't look away. For the first time since the plane, she held his gaze deliberately, let herself see him without the armor of fury or the shield of Noah's presence between them. Marcus froze mid-step. His expression cycled through shock, uncertainty, then something fragile and naked, hope carefully contained. He didn't move toward her, didn't wave or smile, just stood there, letting her look. 22 months sober, daily GA meetings, therapy, bankruptcy. Her phone shattered the moment, Grace's ringtone cutting through the lobby's ambient noise. Maya fumbled it from her purse, breaking eye contact. "Where are you?" Her mother's voice was tight with worry. "Downstairs. Coming up now." Maya moved toward the elevators, pressing the call button. "Noah's asking for breakfast, and you need to tell me what that woman said." "I will. Give me 5 minutes." The elevator dinged, doors sliding open. Maya stepped inside and turned around. Marcus hadn't moved. He stood by the gym entrance, towel forgotten in his hand, watching her with an expression that made her chest ache, not pleading, just waiting, giving her space to decide what came next. The doors began to close. Maya's hand almost reached out to stop them. Almost. But Grace was waiting. Noah was waiting. The conference started in less than an hour. As the gap narrowed to inches, she looked back one final time. Marcus was still there, still watching, still waiting. That she'd assumed was just his personality was gone. In its place, steadiness, presence. As if sensing her attention, Marcus glanced up from his phone. His eyes locked on hers across 30 feet of polished lobby. Maya didn't look away. Every instinct screamed to break the connection, to retreat into the elevator bank behind her, to maintain the walls she'd spent 2 years building brick by careful brick. But Claire's words echoed too loudly. He was sick. He thought you'd be safer without him. Marcus went completely still, his phone lowered to his side. The cautious hope that crossed his face made him look younger, vulnerable in a way the old Marcus never allowed himself to be. Her phone erupted with Grace's ringtone, shattering the moment. Maya answered without breaking eye contact. "I'm downstairs, be right up." "Noah's asking for you." "Where did you go?" Grace's voice carried an edge of suspicion. "Getting coffee." 2 minutes. She ended the call and finally turned toward the elevators. But before the brass doors could close, she looked back. Marcus hadn't moved. He stood near the gym entrance like a man afraid that shifting weight might break whatever fragile thread had just formed between them. The elevator climbed. Maya's reflection stared back from the polished doors. Professional blazer, carefully neutral expression, eyes that betrayed every confused emotion churning underneath. Gambling addiction. Treatment facility, suicide note. The words reshaped everything. He hadn't chosen another life over them. He'd been drowning, convinced they'd be better off without the wreckage of what he'd become. It didn't erase the abandonment, didn't undo 2 years of single motherhood, of Noah's questions, of rebuilding herself from someone's abandoned fiancé into someone whole. But it changed the story. The elevator chimed at 15. Maya stepped into the hallway, fishing her room key from her bag. Through the door she heard cartoons playing, and Noah's laughter at something Grace said. Her hand paused on the door handle. "You don't owe him anything," Claire had said. "Not forgiveness, not a relationship, not access to Noah." True. But maybe she owed herself the full story before deciding what came next. Maya unlocked the door and stepped inside. Grace looked up from the coffee maker, took one look at Maya's face, and her expression hardened. "You met with her. Marcus's sister." Not a question. Maya closed the door behind her and nodded. Maya's correction came out sharper than intended. "Todd is my colleague, Noah, not boyfriend." But the words landed too late. Marcus's face had already shuttered, that careful blankness people wear when they're absorbing pain they have no right to feel. He focused on wiping syrup from Noah's fingers with his napkin, movements precise and controlled. Todd's smile faltered as he registered the tension crackling around the table. Well, I should let you folks finish up. Maya, I'll catch you at the afternoon sessions. Sure, see you later. Todd retreated with the relieved stride of someone escaping a minefield. Marcus stood, the movement abrupt. I should go. Let you get to the conference. He crouched to Noah's level, the shift making him small, unthreatening. Thanks for breakfast, buddy. I had the best time. Noah threw his arms around Marcus's neck. You're coming back, right? For another story? If Mommy says it's okay. Marcus's voice stayed steady, but his eyes, when they met Maya's, held resignation, the look of a man who'd already accepted his sentence. Thank you for this. I know what it cost you. He straightened and walked toward the exit, shoulders straight, pace unhurried, not fleeing, just leaving with the dignity of someone who'd learned not to ask for more than he'd been given. Maya watched him navigate between tables, her throat tight with an explanation she had no business offering. There's nothing with Todd. I haven't dated anyone. I haven't moved on. But what right did she have to say that? What claim did he have to that information? She sat frozen as Marcus disappeared into the lobby. Noah picked at his remaining pancake, unusually quiet. Then, with the devastating honesty of 4-year-olds, I like that Todd man. He's nice. Pause. But I like Daddy more. The words hit like a physical blow. Maya pulled Noah against her side, kissing the top of his head, unable to form a response. Movement in her peripheral vision made her look up. Grace stood framed in the restaurant's entrance, arms crossed, expression unreadable. She'd been watching, witnessed the entire interaction. Todd's interruption, Marcus's retreat, Maya's paralysis. Their eyes met across the dining room. Grace tilted her head toward the lobby. We need to talk, and disappeared from the doorway. Thursday morning, 10:30 a.m. Maya watched Noah disappear into the kids' club with barely a backward glance, already engaged with a Thomas the Tank Engine puzzle. Grace had texted earlier. She'd rented a car and planned to drive down to the Everglades, giving Maya breathing room she hadn't requested, but desperately needed. The conference's main session loomed. Strategic partnerships. Building trust through collaboration. Maya entered the reconfigured ballroom at 10:55 a.m. Small tables dotted the space, each set with 2 chairs angled toward each other. Intimate, unavoidable. She chose a seat near the back, scanning her badge. Number 247. The facilitator, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s, explained the exercise with practiced enthusiasm. Random pairings based on badge numbers. Complex business case requiring negotiation and compromise. Emphasis on communication, vulnerability, trust building. Badge 247, Maya Brooks paired with Badge 248, Marcus Bennett. Maya's coffee turned to acid in her stomach. Across the room, Marcus's shoulders dropped. Their eyes met. His expression mirrored what she felt, cosmic exhaustion at the universe's relentless orchestration. They moved to table 12 without speaking. The facilitator distributed thick packets. Maya scanned the scenario. 2 companies considering merger, incompatible cultures, conflicting operational philosophies. Negotiate terms, honoring both sides. You can start with introductions, the facilitator suggested brightly to the room. Assume you're meeting for the first time. Marcus opened his packet. I'm the CFO of a traditional manufacturing firm. Conservative, risk-averse, focused on stability. Maya matched his professional distance. VP of Innovation for a tech startup. Growth-oriented, flexible, comfortable with calculated risk. So we have nothing in common. Not on paper. They worked through the initial questions mechanically. Maya outlined her company's revenue projections. Marcus countered with his firm's legacy client concerns. Their responses stayed clinical, data-driven. But at 11:30, the exercise shifted. The facilitator's voice cut through the room's murmur. Now identify your core values. What's non-negotiable? What would you sacrifice this deal to protect? Maya stared at the question. The business framework felt transparent suddenly, the personal implications glaring. Marcus wrote something, crossed it out, started again. Transparency, Maya said finally, keeping her eyes on the packet. My company won't enter partnerships built on hidden information or unspoken expectations. Marcus's pen stilled. Accountability, he said quietly. My firm has learned that avoiding responsibility for mistakes, even catastrophic ones, destroys more than admitting failure ever could. The air between them thickened. Stability, Maya continued. Consistency over time. Not dramatic gestures, but reliable presence. Second chances, Marcus's voice barely carried across the table. The belief that past failure doesn't define future capacity. They were still talking about the merger. Technically, Maya's chest felt compressed. Around them, other pairs laughed, debated, scribbled notes. At table 12, silence stretched like wire. After lunch, Maya excused herself from Todd's networking group and retreated to a quiet corner near the lobby restrooms. Her phone screen lit up with a notification, message received at 1:45 p.m., while she'd been forcing down a Caesar salad and pretending to care about quarterly projections. Marcus's name appeared. Her thumb hovered. "I'm sorry if this morning was awkward with your colleague. You deserve to move on and be happy. I hope you know I want that for you, even if it's not with me. Thank you for the exercise today. Working with you reminded me of why I fell in love with you in the first place. M." The words blurred. Maya leaned against the wall, pressure building behind her ribs. He'd given her permission to move on, released her from obligation. The generosity of it, or maybe the grief, made her want to scream. Her fingers moved toward the keyboard, searching for a response that didn't exist. Another buzz cut through her paralysis. Grace, this time. "Noah had incident at Kids Club. Nothing serious, but he's asking for you. I'm picking him up now. Can you come?" Maya's chest constricted. She shoved through the lobby, past clusters of conference attendees clutching coffee and lanyards, her heels clicking urgency against marble tile. The Kids Club occupied a bright corner suite on the second floor. She burst through the door at 2:40 p.m. to find Grace on a miniature chair. Noah curled in her lap like he hadn't done since he was 2. His face was blotchy, hiccuping with the aftermath of serious tears. The supervisor, a young woman with a UCF lanyard and apologetic expression, approached. "Miss Brooks, I'm so sorry. We were doing group play, building blocks, and Noah He got very upset, started crying and asking for his daddy, saying he was scared his daddy would disappear again. We tried everything, but he kept asking if his dad left the hotel." Grace's face said it all. "I told you this would happen." Noah lifted his head, registering Maya's presence. "Mommy." He reached for her with desperate hands. Maya gathered him close, feeling his small body shake. "Is Daddy still here? Promise he didn't leave. Promise, Mommy. He's still here, baby. I promise. But what if he goes away again?" Noah's voice cracked on a sob. "What if I can't find him?" Maya met Grace's eyes over Noah's head. Her mother's expression held no satisfaction in being right, only weary recognition of pain she'd predicted and couldn't prevent. The reopened wound was hemorrhaging faster than Maya could stanch it. Marcus leaned against the hallway wall, staring at the bland hotel carpet. The corridor stretched empty in both directions, just them and the hum of distant ice machines. "I went to 3 different casinos the week before I left." His voice scraped raw. "Told you I had client dinners. I'd maxed out the last credit card you didn't know about. Borrowed $15,000 from a guy whose name I didn't even know. Just some contact another gambler gave me." He looked up at her. "I'd sit at the blackjack table at 2 in the morning, 7 months pregnant Maya at home, and I'd think, next hand I'll win it back. Next hand I'll fix everything." Maya's arms crossed tight over her chest. "You could have told me. I rehearsed it 100 times. Maya, I've gambled away our savings. Maya, I owe money to dangerous people. Maya, I'm not who you think I am." His laugh held no humor. "Every time I'd see your face, the way you looked at me like I was worth something, and I couldn't destroy that, so I'd go back to the tables instead. You destroyed it anyway." "I know." The words sat between them like stones. Down the hall, the elevator chimed. An elderly couple emerged, nodded politely as they passed. Maya waited until their door clicked shut 3 rooms down. "Claire told me about Vegas, about the motel room." She watched his face. "About the note you wrote." Marcus flinched like she'd struck him. "She wasn't supposed to—" "Were you really going to do it?" The question hung there. Marcus closed his eyes. "I had the pills, wrote letters to you, to Claire, to my parents, sat on that motel bed for 6 hours." His voice dropped to almost nothing. "The only reason I didn't was because I was too much of a coward for that too. Couldn't even end it right." Maya's breath caught. The man in front of her, steady, present, careful with their son, had been that broken, that lost. "Claire found me the next morning. I'd passed out from exhaustion, pills still in the bottle. She slapped me across the face, dragged me to the car, drove me straight to intake." He opened his eyes. "I fought her the whole way, screaming that you and Noah were better off, that I was doing everyone a favor by disappearing. She kept saying, 'You don't get to decide that. You don't get to take the easy way out.' She saved your life. She gave me a chance to save it myself." Marcus straightened. The first 90 days in treatment, I hated her for it, hated everyone, hated myself most. But somewhere around month 4, I started seeing clear for the first time in years. Started understanding that the gambling wasn't about money or thrill. It was about running from everything I was terrified of failing at. Maya's phone buzzed, Grace texting, "Noah still sleeping. Take your time." She pocketed it without responding. "What are you terrified of now?" Marcus met her eyes. "That I'll fail Noah the way I failed you. That I'll wake up one day and the urge will be back and I won't be strong enough. That you'll let me in and I'll prove your mother right." He paused. "That you'll forgive me and I won't deserve it." Marcus leaned against the hallway wall, staring at the bland hotel carpet. The corridor stretched empty in both directions, just them and the hum of distant ice machines. "I went to 3 different casinos the week before I left." His voice scraped raw. "Told you I had client dinners. I'd maxed out the last credit card you didn't know about. Borrowed $15,000 from a guy whose name I didn't even know. Just some contact another gambler gave me." He looked at her then, eyes red-rimmed. "I came home and held you while you slept, 7 months pregnant, and I knew what I was doing to us. But I couldn't stop." Maya's breath shuddered out. Her hands trembled against her thighs. "I kept thinking one more win, just one big win, and I could fix everything before you found out." Marcus's laugh was bitter. "That's what addicts tell themselves. One more time. But there's never one more time. There's just more debt, more lies, more shame until you're sitting in a Vegas motel with a bottle of pills, thinking everyone would be better off." "Don't." Maya's word cracked like a whip. "Don't tell me you almost—" She couldn't finish. The silence pressed against them. Somewhere below, the hotel's lobby piano played something soft and forgettable. Maya took a shaking breath. "I don't know if I can trust you again." The words came out steadier than she felt. "I don't know if I should. But I can see you're trying, and Noah needs you." She met his gaze, holding it. "So I'm not saying no to something. I'm just saying I need time and proof, and probably therapy for all of us." Marcus nodded so hard she thought his neck might snap. "Whatever you need, whatever timeline you need, I'll do therapy, family therapy, whatever helps." A door opened down the hall. Some conference attendee in a wrinkled suit passed them, glancing over with naked curiosity at their tear-streaked faces before hurrying toward the elevator. The spell broke. Maya straightened, wiping her eyes with the heel of her hand. "You should get back to the conference." "Right. Yeah." Marcus pushed off the wall but hesitated, hovering. Can I come back tonight after my meeting? Just to say goodnight to Noah? I think it might help him sleep better, knowing I'm not gone." Maya considered. Every maternal instinct screamed the complications this would create, but Noah's panic-stricken face flashed through her mind. 8:30 p.m., just good night. Relief washed over Marcus's features. "Thank you." She watched him walk away, his shoulders carrying weight that looked both heavy and somehow lighter than before. Then she leaned against the wall, emotionally hollowed out. Her phone buzzed. "Todd, missed you at the afternoon sessions. Everything okay? Still planning to come to tonight's reception?" Maya had completely forgotten about the evening reception. She typed back, "Something came up with Noah. Not sure I'll make it." Maya pushed back into the room, where Grace sat ramrod straight beside sleeping Noah, her mother's eyes asking the question words couldn't. "What are you doing?" Marcus stood outside the Miami Community Center, watching a pair of streetlights flicker on as dusk settled. The building sat humble and squat between a laundromat and a convenience store, nothing like the gleaming hotel conference center he'd left behind. He pulled the door open. The linoleum hallway smelled like burnt coffee and floor cleaner. Signs pointed toward various rooms. Yoga Tuesdays, ESL classes Thursdays, GA, room 3B. 12 people already sat in the circle when he entered, metal folding chairs, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, a coffee station with a stack of styrofoam cups. "Welcome." The facilitator, an older man with kind eyes and weathered hands, gestured to an empty seat. "I'm Robert." Marcus took the chair, setting his phone to silent. "Marcus, compulsive gambler, 22 months. "Hi, Marcus." The familiar chorus settled something tight in his chest. He listened as others shared. A woman in scrubs described driving past a casino billboard on her way to work, how her hands had gone slick on the steering wheel. A college kid celebrated 6 months, voice cracking with pride. An older man grieved the wife who'd left before he found this room. Robert looked at Marcus. "You want to share?" Marcus's throat worked. "I'm here for a conference. Work thing. Should be straightforward." He rubbed his palms against his thighs. but I ran into my ex and our son. The 4-year-old I've never met because I disappeared when she was pregnant. Heads nodded. No judgment, just recognition. She's giving me a chance, letting me see him, and his voice cracked. I'm terrified that I'll say the wrong thing, that she'll never trust me and she'd be right not to, that my son will love me and then I'll relapse and wreck him the way I wrecked everything else. Robert leaned forward. Can you control whether she trusts you? No. Can you control whether you relapse tomorrow? No, I can only what? Marcus exhaled. Only control my next right action. Are you working your program today? Yeah. I'm here, aren't I? Robert smiled. Then that's enough. One day, one action. That's all any of us get. The tightness in Marcus's chest loosened another notch. The meeting closed with the serenity prayer at 8 o'clock. Marcus exchanged numbers with a local member, pocketed a meeting schedule for the rest of the week. His phone showed 8:25 when the lift pulled up to the hotel. He texted, "Downstairs. Still okay to come say goodnight?" The reply came fast. "Room 1507. Come up." Marcus moved toward the door at 8:55 p.m., but Maya's voice stopped him before he reached the threshold. "Thank you," he turned back, "for going to the meeting, for being honest with him." "Of course." They stood in the doorway, close enough that Maya could see the faint shadow of stubble along his jaw, smell the hotel soap on his skin. Her pulse kicked up. "I read your bankruptcy filing." Marcus went still. "I know about the casinos, the debts. I know it was bad." His shoulders tensed, bracing for the blow. Maya's voice dropped lower. "Claire told me everything. About Vegas. About finding you. About the suicide note." The color drained from Marcus's face. His lips parted. Shock, then something like horror crossing his features. He clearly hadn't known Claire had shared that detail. "You almost died, and I had no idea." Maya's voice fractured on the words. "I was home hating you, and you were—" She couldn't finish. Her throat closed around the image of Marcus alone in some grimy motel room, writing a note, believing they'd be better off without him. Marcus whispered, "I'm so sorry you had to find out like that. I never wanted you to carry that." She shook her head hard. "I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm trying to tell you that I understand now why you left." His eyes searched hers, desperate, disbelieving. "I still think you should have told me the truth, should have let me help." Her hand lifted, almost touching his arm before falling back. "But I understand." The hallway tilted, or maybe just her world. This was the closest they'd come to real connection. No anger, no defenses, just two people who'd loved each other standing in the wreckage of what they'd lost. Marcus's gaze dropped to her mouth. Maya's breath stuttered. She felt the pull between them like gravity, like the years hadn't happened, like they were still those people who'd fallen in love over coffee and conference calls and late-night conversations about everything and nothing. His hand came up slowly, fingertips almost brushing her cheek. "Mommy? Daddy?" Noah's sleepy voice drifted from the bed. "You coming in?" Maya stepped back fast, the spell shattering. Marcus's hand dropped. He swallowed hard, blinking like someone waking from a dream. "Good night, Maya." He slipped into the hallway before she could respond. Friday morning, 8 a.m. Maya woke to knocking on the connecting door. She groaned, squinting at the clock. The conference didn't start until 11. Noah slept beside her, one arm flung across her chest. She wrapped the hotel robe around herself and shuffled to the door. Marcus stood there, fully dressed in khakis and a button-down, looking sheepish. "I'm so sorry to wake you, but I had an idea and wanted to ask before I assumed anything. Beautiful Miami day, light conference schedule. Would Maya and Noah want to spend the morning at the beach? Just as family time for Noah. Claire could come too, so it's not just us." "I thought maybe Noah would enjoy it, and it might help him feel more secure." He paused. "But if you're not comfortable, I completely understand." Maya's refusal formed on her lips. Too intimate, too much like the family they weren't. Then she pictured Noah's tear-streaked face yesterday, his small body shaking with panic. "Grace is coming too, and this is for Noah, not for us." Relief flooded Marcus's face. "Of course. Absolutely." By 9 o'clock, their unlikely group assembled in the lobby. Maya in a coral sundress over her swimsuit, Noah bouncing in his shark rash guard, Marcus in board shorts and a faded t-shirt that stretched across shoulders broader than she remembered, Claire in casual beachwear, sunglasses already on, Grace in elegant white linen and a wide-brimmed hat, clearly intending to supervise rather than swim. The tension between Grace and Marcus crackled like static, but they maintained civil silence for Noah's sake. 3 blocks to the public beach access. Noah ran ahead, then circled back, grabbing both parents' hands. "Race you to the water, Daddy." "After we put sunscreen on," Maya said. Marcus caught her eye over Noah's head, a shared moment of parental solidarity that felt dangerously normal. Claire made conversation about the hotel's architecture. Grace said nothing, but her eyes tracked every interaction. Strangers passing them smiled at the family group, making assumptions Maya didn't correct. They set up camp on the sand at 9:30. Marcus played in the waves with Noah, tossing him high, teaching him to jump the surf, his laugh carrying over the crash of water. Claire settled beside Maya on the towels. "Your son is fearless. He gets that from his father." The words slipped out before Maya could stop them. Claire glanced at her but said nothing. They talked about careers, travel, books, finding genuine connection in the neutral territory of shared interests. Grace read her thriller but smiled when Noah's laughter rang out. At 11, they bought ice cream from a boardwalk vendor. Noah sat between his parents on a weathered bench, chocolate melting down his chin. A tourist approached with a camera. "Would you like me to take your family photo?" "Yes," Noah shouted before anyone could decline. Maya handed over her phone. They arranged themselves, Marcus's hand on Noah's shoulder, Maya's on the other side, all three squinting into the sun. Looking at the images afterward, Maya's chest tightened. They looked happy. Whole. Marcus leaned over her shoulder. "We look happy." Maya tucked the phone away without deleting them. At 11:45 they packed up. Noah grabbed both parents' hands, sandy and sun-drunk, chattering about the castle they'd built. They passed under a wooden pier suddenly shaded, cool after the bright heat. Noah ran ahead to investigate a seagull. Marcus and Maya stood 5 feet apart in the dim light. "Thank you for this. It's the best day I've had in 2 years." Maya's guard, lowered by the morning's ease, cracked further. "It's been really nice." Their eyes met. Marcus took a half step closer. Maya didn't step back. "I know I don't have the right, but I need you to know I never stopped loving you. Not for a single day." He leaned in, kissed her softly, asking permission with the gentle pressure of his lips. And Maya, against every wall she'd built, every warning her mother had given, kissed him back. 10 perfect seconds. Years disappearing in the salt air and shadow. Then reality crashed back. She pulled away, breathing hard. I can't." Marcus stepped back, but hope lit his face. "I understand. I'm sorry if I pushed too hard." "Mommy, Daddy, come see!" They emerged from under the pier separately. Everything had shifted. Maya in a coral sundress over her swimsuit. Noah bouncing in his shark rash guard. Marcus in board shorts and a faded t-shirt that had seen better days. Nothing like the expensive clothes from the plane. Claire wore casual beachwear, her blonde hair already pulled back. Grace arrived last, elegant in white linen pants and a wide-brimmed hat. She wouldn't swim, but she'd supervise. The walk to the beach stretched 3 blocks. Noah ran ahead, then circled back like a puppy, grabbing both parents' hands. Marcus's fingers tensed in surprise when Noah latched on. He glanced at Maya, asking permission he'd already been given. She didn't pull Noah away. Claire filled the silence with easy chatter about the hotel's terrible coffee, the conference's uninspired lunch options. Neutral territory. Grace said nothing, but her eyes tracked every movement between Marcus and Noah. Between Marcus and Maya, they looked like a family to the tourists they passed. Maya felt it in the curious glances, the warm smiles from elderly couples. The weight of the performance settled in her chest. Miami Beach opened before them at 9:15, turquoise water stretching to the horizon. Noah shrieked and bolted for the waves. Marcus dropped the beach bag and took off after him, catching him just before he plunged in fully clothed. "Whoa, buddy, let's get you in the water the right way." He swung Noah up, and the boys' laughter carried across the sand. Maya spread towels while Claire handled the umbrella. Grace settled into a beach chair, book in hand, sunglasses hiding her expression. For the next 2 hours the morning unfolded like something from before. Marcus tossed Noah in the shallow waves, catching him every time, taught him to jump the surf, to let the water lift him, built an elaborate sandcastle complete with moat and towers. Maya sat with Claire, talking about everything except what mattered. Work, frustrations, favorite novels, the best places they'd traveled. Genuine conversation bloomed between them. Claire was sharp and funny, easier to talk to than Maya expected. Grace turned pages steadily, but occasionally smiled at Noah's squeals. Around 11, Marcus jogged up the beach to the boardwalk vendor, returned with 4 ice cream cones and a popsicle for Noah. They sat on a weathered bench, Noah wedged between his parents, chocolate smeared across his chin. A tourist approached, camera raised. "Would you like me to take your family photo?" "Yes," Noah shouted before anyone could speak. Maya handed over her phone. They arranged themselves, Marcus's arm draped across the back of the bench, not quite touching Maya's shoulders. Noah grinning between them, Claire and Grace flanking the ends. The shutter clicked 3 times. Maya pulled up the images afterward. They looked happy, whole. Marcus leaned over her shoulder, close enough that she felt his breath. "We look happy." Maya's thumb hovered over the delete button. She closed the photo app instead. Maya followed Marcus into room 1508, arms crossed tight across her chest. Claire was there, working on her laptop at the desk. She took one look at their faces and closed it. "I'll go grab coffee." Marcus didn't argue. He waited until the door clicked shut, then pulled his laptop bag from the closet. His hands shook slightly as he unzipped it. "Everything's digital now. My sponsor recommended keeping copies accessible for accountability." He opened his laptop, navigating to a folder labeled simply Recovery. Inside were dozens of PDFs, organized by date. He pulled up the first document. Chapter 7, Bankruptcy Discharge, dated 18 months prior. "This is the final order. Every debt listed here is legally discharged. Creditors can't collect. It's done." Maya leaned over his shoulder, scanning the list. The numbers made her sick. Bellagio Casino, $43,000. Caesar's Palace, $38,500. 6 different online gambling sites. The total debt discharged, $187,342. Grace said loan sharks. Marcus's jaw tightened. There was one guy, private loan before everything crashed. He was aggressive, but he's listed here too. Personal loan, $15,000. Also discharged. He opened another file. "This is my current bank statement from last week. You can see every transaction. My salary, direct deposit, rent payment, groceries, GA meeting donation, therapy copay, student loan payment, car payment. That's it." Maya studied the statement. The checking account balance was $3,147. Savings, $1,205. No mysterious withdrawals, no cash advances, no transfers to gambling sites. And this. He pulled up another document, a letter from the bankruptcy trustee dated 3 months ago. Final audit confirming all assets and debts were properly disclosed. Case closed with no issues. Maya's throat felt tight. Everything looked legitimate. "The creditor calls your mother got. They were probably from before the discharge went through. Once I filed, there's a stay that prevents collection, but companies sometimes keep calling anyway, hoping people don't know their rights." He turned to face her, laptop still open between them. "Maya, I swear on Noah's life, there are no hidden debts, no loan sharks. No one's coming after me. Everything is settled and documented." His eyes were clear, desperate, but clear. "I promised you transparency. This is it. All of it." Maya's fingers traced the bankruptcy papers, stopping at the list of creditors. Casino names jumped out. Borgata, Caesar's Palace, multiple online gambling sites. Hundreds of thousands in losses, documented in cold legal language. $15,000. Her voice was flat. "You borrowed from a loan shark for $15,000. I know how insane that sounds." "Do you?" She spun toward him. "Because I'm trying to understand how the man I loved, the man who talked about our future and our family, was secretly in debt to someone who threatened to break his legs." Marcus stood frozen by the desk, hands hanging useless at his sides. "I was sick, Maya. I wasn't thinking rationally. Every bet felt like the one that would fix everything, and when it didn't, I just dug deeper." She picked up a bank statement, scanned the transactions. Publix, Shell Station, Dr. Rebecca Norton, therapy, Miami GA Group, donation. The mundane evidence of a rebuilt life. "Your parents won't talk to you." "No." "Because of the money?" "Because I lied to them for years. Stole from my dad's wallet when I visited. Borrowed their emergency credit card and maxed it out at a casino." His voice cracked. "The loan shark payment was the last straw. My mother told me I'd destroyed any trust we'd ever had." Maya set down the statement. Through the window, Miami's skyline glittered in the late afternoon sun. Down the hall, Noah was playing with seashells, innocent and trusting. Grace said the creditors were aggressive, threatening. That's what they do. They call everyone. Parents, friends, employers. They threatened to garnish wages I didn't have, sue for assets I'd already lost. But the bankruptcy stopped it. Legally, they can't touch me anymore. And illegally? Marcus met her eyes. The loan shark is done. I have the receipt from the payment, the text from him saying we're square. I can show you. He reached for his phone, but Maya held up a hand. She'd seen enough paperwork. What she needed couldn't be found in bank statements or discharge documents. How do I know there isn't more? Some other secret waiting to explode? You don't. The honesty landed heavy between them. I can show you every document, every transaction, every therapy note, but I can't prove a negative. All I can do is tell you the truth and let you decide if you believe me. Maya's phone buzzed. Grace checking in. She looked at Marcus, really looked at him, saw the shame carved into the lines around his eyes. Maya watched her mother's face across the table, searching for any crack in the wall of skepticism. Grace's fingers drummed against her water glass, processing Marcus's answer. And what about Maya? Grace's voice cut through the restaurant's quiet murmur. You think you can just walk back into her life after what you did? My daughter cried herself to sleep for months. She worked 2 jobs while pregnant because you cleaned out the joint account before you left. Marcus went pale. I didn't know about the account. I was so deep in the fog of addiction, He stopped himself. No, that's an excuse. I should have thought about what my actions would do to her. I'm sorry doesn't cover it. You're damn right it doesn't. Grace leaned forward. Let me tell you something, Marcus. I raised Maya alone after her father walked out. I know what abandonment does to a woman. It breaks something inside that doesn't just heal because a man shows up 2 years later with apologies and paperwork. I understand. I'm not finished. Grace's voice dropped lower, more dangerous. Noah is 4 years old. 4. You know what he asked me last week? If Daddy didn't love him because he cried too much as a baby. A 4-year-old thinks he drove his father away. You did that to him. Marcus's eyes filled. He didn't wipe the tears, didn't look away. You're right, I did that. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to undo that damage if you and Maya let me. Maya reached across the table, surprising herself by touching Marcus's hand. Mom, I need to ask you something. She waited until Grace met her eyes. When Dad left, did you ever wish he'd come back? That he'd gotten help and tried to fix what he broke? Grace's expression shifted, old pain surfacing. Every single day for 3 years. And if he had? That's different. Is it? Maya pulled her hand back from Marcus's but kept her gaze on her mother. I'm not saying I'm taking him back. I'm saying I'm giving him the chance to prove whether he's worth taking back. That's my choice, Mom, mine. Silence settled over the table. A waiter approached, then veered away at the tension. Grace exhaled slowly. When she spoke again, her voice had lost some of its edge. You went to a meeting tonight? Before dinner? Marcus nodded. Yes, ma'am. 7 p.m., same community center as yesterday. I go every night, no matter where I am. Show me your phone, the meeting app thing. Without hesitation, Marcus pulled out his phone, opened his GA app, and slid it across the table. Grace examined it. Meeting check-ins going back months. Sponsor contact. Step work tracking. She handed it back. Fine. You're doing what you're supposed to do. That doesn't mean I trust you. I wouldn't expect you to. Grace stood, gathering her purse. But I'll stop actively trying to convince Maya you're hopeless. That's all you're getting from me tonight. She looked at her daughter. I'll check on Noah. You two, finish your conversation. Maya's back hit the hotel room door as it swung shut behind them. Marcus's mouth hot against her neck. Her hands tangled in his hair, 2 years of walls crumbling in seconds. This was reckless, stupid. Everything she'd sworn she wouldn't do. She didn't care. Wait. Marcus pulled back, breathing hard. His forehead pressed against hers. Maya, wait. I need to know you're sure. I can't. If this is just tonight, if you regret this in the morning, I don't think I'll survive it. The vulnerability in his voice cut through the haze of want. Maya stepped back, creating space between their bodies, though her hands still gripped his shirt. Her chest heaved as reality crashed back. What was she doing? Noah slept 3 doors down. Grace would murder her if she knew. Todd waited upstairs, offering uncomplicated affection. And Marcus was still the man who'd disappeared, no matter how changed he seemed. I don't know if I'm sure about anything, she whispered. I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if this is healing or just old patterns, but I know I can't pretend anymore that I don't still feel this. Marcus's hands cupped her face, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. Then let's not pretend. No more hiding. Tell me what you need. Honesty? Complete honesty. No more secrets ever. Done. Time. I can't just jump back into us like nothing happened. However much time you need. Proof. Her voice broke. I need to see you show up. Not just this week when it's easy, but when we go home and life gets hard again. I'll show up every single day. His eyes were fierce. I'll prove it until you believe it. Maya searched his face, looking for cracks in the sincerity. She found none, just the same raw desperation that churned in her own chest. If you hurt him, if you hurt Noah, I won't. I swear to you, Maya, I won't. She believed him. God help her. She believed him. I should go back to my room, she said, but her hands tightened on his shirt, contradicting her words. Marcus's laugh was shaky. Yeah, you should. Neither moved. The moment stretched, heavy with possibility. Finally, Marcus stepped back, breaking the spell. He opened the door for her, ever the gentleman despite their disheveled state. Maya paused in the doorway looking back. Tomorrow morning, breakfast. The three of us, you, me, and Noah. And we talk about what happens when we go home. Tomorrow morning, Marcus agreed. I'll be there. She walked the 3 doors to her room, hyper-aware of his gaze following her. Maya's hand froze on the door handle. The room suddenly felt airless, Marcus's expression igniting every fear she'd been battling all week. What? Her voice came out strangled. What else is there? Marcus stood, running both hands through his hair, the gesture she remembered from every difficult conversation they'd ever had. It's not bad. I mean, it's not a secret or a debt or... It's about why I'm really here. At this conference, she turned to face him fully, arms crossing over her chest. The protective armor snapped back into place. I told you I was attending for work, and that's true, but it's not the whole truth. He paced to the window, stared out at Miami's glowing skyline. 3 months ago, when my therapist finally said I was stable enough to try contacting you, I started looking for opportunities. Any excuse to be near you that wasn't just showing up at your door like some stalker. Maya's stomach twisted. I found out through your company's public events page that you'd been promoted. Saw your name listed as a panelist for this conference. He turned back to her. So I convinced my boss to send me. Paid the difference in registration fees myself when he said the budget was tight. Booked first class because I knew corporate strategists at your level often get upgraded. You planned this. The words tasted like ash. The whole thing was calculated. No. Yes. I mean, Marcus's face showed anguish. I planned to be here at the same conference. I hoped I might see you in a session, get a chance to approach you in a professional setting where you couldn't just slam a door in my face. But Noah being here, the plane seats, the hotel rooms, that was all cosmic accident. I swear I didn't orchestrate any of that. Maya's mind reeled. Every interaction this week suddenly looked different through this lens. Not chance encounter, but deliberate pursuit. You manipulated the situation. I created an opportunity, Marcus corrected desperately. I knew if I just showed up in Boston, you'd have every right to call the police. This way, you could choose whether to talk to me or ignore me completely. It gave you the power. By taking away my choice to avoid you entirely, her voice shook with fury, and something else, hurt that he'd played on her sense of professionalism, her inability to make scenes at career events. Maya, please, get away from the door. He stepped aside immediately. Maya's hand froze on the door handle. The room suddenly felt airless, Marcus's expression igniting every warning system she'd spent 2 years building. Her voice scraped out barely above a whisper. What is it? What haven't you told me? Marcus took a shaking breath and she braced for impact. The other shoe, the hidden debt, the real reason her instincts screamed not to trust him. When this conference ends today, I have to go back to Boston, obviously. He ran his hand through his hair. But what I didn't mention is that my recovery program requires me to maintain certain structures. I'm in intensive outpatient treatment still, group therapy 3 evenings a week that I can't miss. My sponsor requires daily check-ins. My job is entry-level, and I can't afford to miss days. Maya's terror transformed into something more complex. She moved back from the door, sinking into the desk chair while Marcus remained perched on the bed edge. What I'm trying to say is, I can't just sweep in and be a full-time present father immediately. Not because I don't want to, but because I'm still rebuilding my life, he continued, words tumbling out. His apartment was a studio in a modest neighborhood, 40 minutes from where she and Noah lived. His salary was a fraction of what he used to make. His life was structured around recovery, meetings, therapy, work, repeat. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm trying to be honest about what I can realistically offer right now. I want to be in Noah's life as much as you'll allow, but it might look like video calls most nights and visits on weekends I'm not working. It's not the father role I dreamed of, but it's what I can sustain while staying healthy. Maya processed this, grief and respect warring in her chest. She'd started fantasizing about restored family, despite her best efforts to protect herself. "Thank you for telling me. It's better to know." Silence stretched between them, thick with exhaustion and honesty. "Do you want more?" Eventually, Marcus's eyes met hers. "I want everything. I want to be Noah's daily present father. I want to be your partner. I want to rebuild the family we should have been." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "But I can't promise you a timeline, and I won't make promises I'm not sure I can keep. What I can promise is that I'll work toward that goal every single day. I'll do the work in therapy to process my shame and rebuild my capacity for intimacy. I'll maintain my recovery so I'm actually safe to be around." He paused and his voice dropped. "But I need you to know it will be slow, and sometimes I'll have setbacks. Not relapses, but hard days, triggers, struggles. Can you live with that uncertainty?" Maya's turn to be honest. "I don't know. Everything in me wants certainty and guarantees. I want you to promise you'll never hurt us again." She looked at her hands. "But life doesn't work that way. People don't work that way. So maybe the question isn't whether you can guarantee it. Maybe it's whether I'm brave enough to try anyway." Maya's keycard beeped at 1 a.m. The door swung open to reveal Grace sitting upright in the armchair beside Noah's sleeping form, still fully dressed, a book closed on her lap. "Where were you?" No accusation colored the question, just the careful concern of a mother who'd spent decades reading her daughter's heart. Maya sank onto the bed's edge, the emerald dress suddenly heavy on her shoulders. "With Marcus. Talking." Grace waited, hands folded in her lap. The bedside lamp cast long shadows across her face. "I'm going to let him try, Mom." The words came out steadier than Maya expected. "I'm going to let him be part of Noah's life, and I'm going to see if we can build something real. Slowly, carefully, but I'm going to try." The silence stretched between them like a tightrope. Outside, Miami's nightlife hummed through closed windows. Distant music, laughter, the ordinary sounds of people whose lives weren't balanced on knife edges. Grace's fingers tightened slightly in her lap. When she finally spoke, her voice carried the weight of every cautionary tale she'd lived through. "Okay." The single word landed soft as a feather, heavy as a stone. "I don't like it. I'm terrified for you." Grace's eyes glistened in the lamplight. "But I see you've made your decision with your eyes open this time, so I'll support you, and I'll be right here when—" She stopped herself, jaw working. "If you need me." Maya reached across the space between them, found her mother's hand. "When I need you. Because I will need you. This is going to be hard." She squeezed Grace's fingers. "But hopefully not for the reason you think." Grace returned the pressure, then stood slowly, joints protesting the hours in the chair. She moved to the bed, sat beside Maya, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Your father left because he was weak," Grace said quietly, eyes on Noah's sleeping form. "He chose the easy escape over the hard work of staying. If Marcus does the same, it won't be your fault. Just like it wasn't your fault at 12. Maya's throat closed. "But if he stays," Grace's voice cracked, "if he actually does the work and shows up and proves me wrong, then I'll be the first to welcome him back. I want to be wrong about him, baby, I do." They sat in the dark together, mother and daughter, both scared and hopeful in different measures. Grace's hope barely a candle flame against her fear, Maya's burning brighter but no less fragile. Outside, Saturday's first light began its slow climb toward the horizon. Saturday morning light streamed through the hotel windows as Maya wrestled a t-shirt away from Noah's helpful hands. He'd already unpacked half her suitcase in his enthusiasm to help. "Noah, baby, we need things in the bag, not out." Grace zipped her own suitcase with practiced efficiency. 2 o'clock flight means I need to leave for the airport by noon. You're sure you don't want me to wait and ride with you?" Maya shook her head, refolding the same shirt for the 3rd time. "We'll be fine. Your flight's earlier anyway." Noah abandoned the suitcase to bounce on the bed. "When do we see Daddy?" The question landed like a stone in Maya's chest. By 10 o'clock, the lobby had transformed into organized chaos. Conference attendees dragged suitcases across marble floors, exchanged final business cards, posed for last photos. Maya spotted Marcus immediately, standing near the windows with Claire, both surrounded by luggage. Noah broke free and ran. "Daddy!" Marcus caught him, lifting him high before pulling him close. Over Noah's head, his eyes found Maya's. She crossed to them slowly, Grace trailing behind. "Hey, buddy." Marcus set Noah down but kept hold of his hand. "Ready to go home?" "You're coming with us, right?" Noah looked between his parents. "To our house?" Marcus crouched to eye level. I'm going to my house, and you're going to yours. But I'm calling you tonight on video so we can talk, and maybe next weekend if Mommy says okay I can visit. Noah's face crumpled. You're not coming home? The words echoed across the lobby. Nearby conversations faltered. Marcus looked to Maya, desperate. She knelt beside them, throat tight. Remember how we talked about families looking different? Daddy has his home and we have ours. But we'll still see each other. I don't want different. Tears spilled down Noah's cheeks. I want Daddy home. Grace stepped forward, scooping Noah into her arms. Come on, baby, let's see if they have more chocolate muffins. She carried him away. His sobs faded toward the breakfast area. Marcus stood slowly, jaw working. I hate making him cry. He'll be okay. Maya's voice broke. Kids are resilient. He reached for her hand. The contact sent electricity through her palm. Can I call tonight? For Noah? He'd like that. She squeezed his fingers. And Marcus, thank you. For this week. For being honest. Can I ask you something? His thumb traced circles on her hand. Last night you said you weren't saying no, but you're not saying yes either. What are you saying? Maya took a shaking breath. I'm saying I see you. The work you've done. The father you're becoming. The man I loved is still there, maybe more whole than before. She met his eyes. I'm scared, but I'm willing to be scared together if you're willing to be patient. Tears spilled over his lashes. I can be patient. I can wait as long as you need. They stood there, hands linked, until Claire approached. Marcus, we should head out if I want to make my flight. The spell broke. The hotel room felt too quiet after Grace left at 11:30, her goodbye hug lasting longer than usual. Maya moved through the space, checking drawers and bathroom shelves, while Noah arranged his toy cars in precise lines on the bed. Her phone rang at 12:30. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Maya Brooks? Her spine straightened. The voice was male, professional, completely unfamiliar. Who's asking? My name is Anthony Marquez. I'm calling from Addiction Recovery Services of Las Vegas, the facility where Marcus Bennett completed treatment. Maya's breath caught. She moved to the bathroom, closing the door partway so Noah wouldn't hear. I hope it's not inappropriate for me to reach out. Claire Bennett gave me your number. Of course she did. Maya's jaw tightened. I wanted to personally tell you that Marcus was one of our most committed clients. His transformation was remarkable. The words should have brought relief. Instead, Maya's stomach knotted, waiting for the other shoe. But I also want to be honest with you. There it was. Recovery is lifelong work. Statistics say 70 to 80% of gambling addicts relapse at some point. The number hit like a fist. 70 to 80%. I'm calling to offer you resources, family support groups, Al-Anon for families of addicts, education about warning signs. Maya leaned against the bathroom counter, gripping the granite edge. Because if you're choosing to let him back into your life, you should have support too. The kindness in his voice somehow made it worse. This stranger, calling from across the country to prepare her for inevitable heartbreak. Marcus doesn't know I'm calling. Maya found her voice. He doesn't. This is me, as someone who's seen too many families destroyed by this disease, wanting to make sure you have what you need. Through the crack in the door, she could see Noah lining up his cars. Red one, blue one, yellow one. The same careful order he'd maintained all week when anxiety crept in. Are you interested in these resources? 70 to 80%. The beach photos were still on her phone. Marcus's promise from this morning. I won't let you down. Statistics didn't care about promises. Ms. Brooks? Maya closed her eyes. Yes. Send me everything. Tuesday evening in late November. Noah bounced on the couch cushions, Batman pajamas riding up his calves as he positioned himself in front of the laptop. Is it time yet, Mommy? Maya checked her phone. 7:28. 2 more minutes. The apartment smelled like the spaghetti they'd finished an hour ago, a cozy 2-bedroom in a neighborhood that balanced safety with what her salary could manage. Through the window, early winter darkness had already settled over Boston. At exactly 7:30, the laptop chimed. Noah squealed as Marcus's face filled the screen. Hey, buddy, there's my guy. Noah launched into his day without preamble. The turtle they'd seen at preschool, how Emma had shared her crackers at snack time, the tower he'd built that reached this high, hands stretched overhead, nearly smacking Maya in the face. Marcus listened to every word like it was the most important news in the world. Maya settled beside Noah, tucking her feet under her. 3 months ago, these calls had felt like walking on glass, stilted conversations where she'd monitored every word, waiting for Marcus to miss a night, to make an excuse, to prove Grace right. He never had. The first week after Miami had been excruciating. Noah had cried every night, asking when Daddy was coming home. Maya had white-knuckled her way through each evening call, braced for disappointment. Week 3, Marcus had driven to their apartment on a Saturday afternoon. Maya had watched from a park bench while he pushed Noah on the swings for 2 hours, her entire body tense with vigilance. He'd left exactly when she'd asked, hugging Noah goodbye and thanking her with careful formality. By week 6 in September, he'd made 5 weekend visits. Grace had shown up unannounced for one, arms crossed, watching him play trucks with Noah on the living room floor. Afterward, she'd said only, "He shows up on time." High praise from Grace. Week 8 had been the real test. Maya had let Marcus take Noah to the Children's Museum, alone, unsupervised for 3 hours. She'd cleaned the same kitchen counter 6 times, checked her phone every 4 minutes, and nearly called it off twice. Marcus had returned Noah exactly when promised, both of them exhausted and happy, Noah clutching a stuffed dinosaur from the gift shop. Daddy bought it with his own money, Noah had announced proudly, and Maya had seen the receipt, Marcus making sure she knew nothing was hidden. October brought his 90-day GA chip. He'd shown her during a visit, pulling it from his pocket with something like pride mixed with humility. The physical proof of consistency had cracked something in her chest. Now, in late November, the nightly calls had become routine, expected. Something Noah counted on with the certainty of bedtime and breakfast, something Maya had started looking forward to, though she hadn't admitted that to anyone. On screen, Marcus was doing silly voices for a story about a talking sandwich. Noah dissolved into giggles. Maya watched them and felt the dangerous bloom of hope she'd been fighting for months. Wednesday morning arrived cold and grey, the kind of November day that promised snow without delivering. Maya sat at her desk reviewing quarterly projections when her phone vibrated across the surface. Marcus's name lit up the screen. Her stomach dropped. He never called during work hours. Never. She grabbed the phone and ducked into the hallway, heels clicking on polished floors. "Marcus, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." His voice carried something unfamiliar. Excitement threaded with nerves. "Everything's actually... I got promoted." Maya stopped walking, pressing her back against the wall near the break room. "What?" "They're moving me up to analyst position. Back to my actual skill level." The words tumbled out faster now. "Better salary, better hours, real benefits. And Maya, weekends. Full weekends off, not just Saturdays. I could see Noah more." Her throat went tight. Pride bloomed warm in her chest. He'd earned this, clawed his way back from nothing through months of grinding, unglamorous work. "Marcus, that's incredible. I'm so happy for you." Silence stretched between them. She heard him breathing, heard traffic in the background like he'd stepped outside his office building. "Does this..." He stopped, started again. "Does this change anything? For us?" The question landed like a stone in water, ripples spreading outward. He was asking if she'd been waiting for something like this, proof he could rebuild not just his recovery, but his actual life. Asking if the obstacles she'd constructed were real or just fear wearing different masks. "Maya," her assistant Rachel appeared at the hallway corner, apologetic. "Your 11 o'clock is here. Mr. Patterson from the Henderson account?" Maya held up one finger, phone still pressed to her ear. Her mind raced through everything the promotion meant: stability, commitment to rebuilding, follow-through on long-term goals, not just staying sober, but actually thriving. "We'll talk about this," she said, aware of how inadequate the words were. "Soon, I promise." "Okay." Disappointment colored the single word, though he tried to hide it. "Yeah, of course, you're working." "Marcus..." But Rachel was making urgent gestures about the client waiting. "I have to go, but this is huge. You should be proud." She ended the call before he could respond, already moving toward the conference room where Mr. Patterson waited. But her thoughts stayed in that moment of suspension, Marcus's question hanging unanswered between them, like breath on cold air. "Does this change anything?" She didn't know, but her heart was already whispering the answer her head wasn't ready to admit. Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, Grace's house smelled like everything Maya remembered from childhood: sage and butter, brown sugar and cinnamon, the particular alchemy of holiday cooking that turned a house into a home. Noah pressed his face against the living room window for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. "He's coming, baby." Maya adjusted the napkins she'd already straightened twice. "Daddy will be here soon." Grace emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "If he shows." "Mom, I'm just saying." But Grace's voice lacked its usual edge. 3 months of Marcus calling every single night at 7:30 had done something to her certainty. not erased it. Grace didn't erase grudges easily, but dented it. The doorbell rang at 4:47 p.m., 2 minutes early. Noah flew to the door before Maya could stop him. She followed, heart hammering in a way that had nothing to do with nerves and everything to do with the conversation they'd left hanging last week. Marcus stood on the porch looking terrified. He held flowers, full mums in burnt orange, a bakery box and a small wrapped package. His button-down was crisp, his hair still damp from a recent shower. "Hey, buddy," he crouched as Noah launched himself forward. "Happy Thanksgiving. You came?" Noah's joy suggested he'd harbored some doubt, despite Maya's assurances. "Of course I came. I promised, didn't I?" Over Noah's head, Marcus's eyes found Maya's. Something passed between them. Acknowledgement of last week's interrupted conversation. Awareness that tonight meant something. Maya stepped aside. "Come in before we heat the whole neighborhood." Grace appeared in the hallway, drying her hands on a towel. The two of them faced each other. Woman who'd raised Maya alone after abandonment, man who'd recreated that pattern, and the air went sharp with history. Marcus extended the flowers. "Mrs. Brooks, thank you for having me." Grace took them after a pause that lasted one beat too long. "They're nice. I'll put them in water." She disappeared into the kitchen. Noah grabbed Marcus's hand, pulling him toward the living room. "Come see Grandma's decorations. She has a turkey that gobbles when you push the button." Maya caught Marcus's expression as Noah dragged him away, relief mixed with lingering terror. She almost smiled. "Dinner at 6. Grace said the blessing with her eyes closed, hands linked with Maya and Noah while Marcus sat across the table, head bowed. "Lord, we thank you for this food, for this family, for second chances we don't deserve but receive anyway." Her voice emphasized "don't deserve" just enough. "Help us be wise about trust, amen." "Amen," Noah chirped, reaching immediately for the rolls. Conversation limped through safe territory, the turkey's moistness, Noah's upcoming Christmas pageant, whether the Patriots would make the playoffs. Marcus answered questions directed at him but didn't push, didn't try to charm his way past Grace's wariness. Then Noah, stuffing his face with mashed potatoes, made his announcement. "I'm thankful for Daddy." He beamed at Marcus. "He calls me every single night and he never forgets, not even once." The words landed like grace itself, unearned, transformative. Marcus's fork clattered against his plate. He blinked rapidly, jaw working. Grace set down her wineglass carefully. Maya reached across the table before she could stop herself, covering Marcus's hand with hers. Marcus's hands trembled against her skin, the cold seeping through his fingertips. "Are you sure? Because if we do this and I mess up, if I have a bad day or a moment of struggle, I need to know you won't bolt at the first sign of imperfection. I'm human, Maya. I'm going to make mistakes. They won't be disappearing or relapsing, but I won't be perfect." The vulnerability in his voice stripped away her last defenses. "I'm not asking for perfect. I'm asking for present, for honest, for trying. That's all I've ever really needed." He kissed her, soft, slow, full of promise. Not the desperate collision from Miami, but something deeper. Two people who'd walked through fire separately, finding each other on the other side. When they pulled apart, his forehead rested against hers. Then yes, God yes, I want this. I want us. I want to build the family we should have been. They stood in the November cold, holding each other, until Grace's porch light flicked off and on, the universal signal to get moving. They laughed, the sound bright in the darkness. "Come over tomorrow, not for Noah, for me. Let's have a real conversation about what this looks like." His smile reached his eyes. "I'll bring coffee, the good kind from that place you used to love. You remember?" "I remember everything." They parted with one more brief kiss, and Maya drove home through quiet Boston streets, Noah sleeping in his car seat, her heart fuller than it had been in years. At a red light, she glanced at her phone where it sat in the cup holder. The screen lit up with a new message, unknown number. Her stomach dropped before she even read it. "Ms. Brooks, this is Anthony Marquez again, the treatment center director. I'm sorry to bother you, but I wanted to follow up. Have you connected with any family support groups? The holidays are high-risk time for addicts. Stress, family pressure, expectations. I just want to make sure you're prepared if Marcus struggles." The words landed like ice water through her chest. The light turned green. Maya drove, but the warmth from Marcus's kiss had cooled. Hope didn't mean naivety. Trust didn't mean blindness. She was choosing to build something with Marcus, yes, but she'd be smart about it this time. When she got home and transferred sleeping Noah to his bed, she sat in the dark living room and stared at that message. Finally, she typed back, "Thank you for checking in. Yes, Please send me those resources. I want to be prepared. Then she added, but I also want to believe this can work. The response came quickly. Those two things aren't contradictory, that's wisdom. Saturday morning arrived with sharp December clarity. Maya checked the time, 8:57 a.m., and watched from her living room window as Marcus's car pulled into a visitor spot. He emerged carrying a cardboard tray of coffees and a bag from the bagel shop Noah loved, his breath fogging in the cold air. This wasn't a scheduled visit with predetermined boundaries. This was the first day of something new. The knock came at exactly 9. Noah bolted from his pile of Legos, shrieking, "Daddy's here!" Maya opened the door to find Marcus, stamping snow from his boots, cheeks red from cold. "Morning. I brought sustenance." "You're staying all day?" Noah launched himself at Marcus's legs. Marcus caught the coffee tray with one hand, Noah with the other. "That's the plan, buddy. If it's okay with Mommy." "More than okay." Maya took the coffees and their fingers brushed. The contact sent warmth through her chest. The morning unfolded with surprising ease. They ate bagels at the kitchen table while Noah demonstrated his latest Lego creation, a spaceship that looked more like a deformed dinosaur. Marcus listened with complete attention, asking questions that made Noah glow. By 10:30, they'd bundled Noah into his winter coat and headed to the neighborhood park. Marcus pushed the swing while Maya sat on a bench, watching her son's head tip back in laughter each time he soared higher. "Your husband's got good swing technique." The comment came from another mother settling beside her. Maya opened her mouth to correct her, then stopped. "Thanks, he's had practice." The lie, or maybe the truth, settled comfortably. At the grocery store, they navigated aisles like they'd done it for years. Marcus grabbed a cart while Noah helped by adding items with aggressive enthusiasm. "We need milk," Maya said, checking her phone list. "Whole or 2%? 2%. And we're out of coffee." "I saw." Marcus was already heading toward the right aisle. "The dark roast you like?" She nodded, throat tight at the casual remembrance. Noah appeared with a box of sugar cereal covered in cartoon characters. "Can we get this?" Maya started to refuse, but Marcus crouched down. "How about we compromise? One fun cereal and one healthy cereal. Deal?" "Deal!" Watching them negotiate, Maya felt something unlock in her chest. Back at the apartment by 1, Marcus moved through her kitchen with comfortable competence. He'd offered to make lunch. Grilled cheese for Noah, actual food for the adults. Maya sat at her laptop reviewing Monday's presentation while Noah played trains at her feet. The domestic symphony wrapped around her. Marcus humming off-key, the sizzle of butter, Noah's train sound effects. Normal. Achingly, perfectly normal. At 3, Marcus's phone buzzed repeatedly on the counter. Maya's shoulders tensed before she could stop them. Marcus caught the reaction immediately. He picked up the phone, angling it so she could see the screen. "It's Brian, my sponsor. I told him about today. He wants to check in." "Oh?" Relief flooded her. "Of course. Are you sure?" "I'll take it in the bedroom, 5 minutes." He squeezed her shoulder in passing. She heard his muffled voice through the door, warm and honest. When he emerged 4 minutes later, his smile was soft. "All good. He says congratulations on the relationship progress." Marcus settled back at the stove. "Also said to tell you hi, which is weird since you've never met, but Brian's weird generally." The casual transparency dissolved the last of her tension. By 6, Noah was dragging. Marcus offered to handle bath and bedtime, and Maya found herself hovering in the doorway, watching him competently wrangle a soapy 4-year-old. "Daddy, you're getting wet." "That's what happens when you're a splashy fish." Marcus dodged another tidal wave. After stories and tucking and the elaborate goodnight ritual Noah required, Marcus emerged looking exhausted and content. They collapsed onto the couch together. Maya curled against his side, fitting there like she'd never left. "I could get used to this," Marcus murmured into her hair. "Coming home to you both. Is that what you want?" "Eventually, yes." His hand traced patterns on her shoulder. "My lease is up in March. I was thinking maybe I find Maya changed into her pajamas at 9:45 p.m., the apartment quiet except for the hum of the radiator. She was brushing her teeth when she heard it, a small sound from Noah's room. She found him sitting up in bed, clutching the stuffed elephant Marcus had brought him weeks ago. "Hey baby, what's wrong?" "Mommy?" His voice was small in the dark. "Is Daddy coming back tomorrow?" Maya sat on the edge of his bed, smoothing his hair. "Not tomorrow, sweetie, but he'll call tomorrow night like always." Noah's fingers worked at the elephant's ear, thinking, "But someday he'll come back every day?" Her heart expanded against her ribs. "Maybe someday, yes. Would you like that?" "Yeah." His nod was emphatic. "We're supposed to be together. All of us. That's how families work. Out of the mouths of babes. Maya kissed his forehead, breathing in his little boy's scent of shampoo and sleep. You're pretty smart. You know that? Noah yawned, already sliding back under his covers. I know. She tucked the blanket around him, watching his eyes drift shut. But his words followed her down the hallway, settling into her chest where hope lived now. In her own bed, she pulled out her phone. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard before typing, Noah just asked if you'll come back every day someday. I told him maybe. Is that still what you want? Every day? 3 dots appeared immediately. Every day, every night, every moment you'll give me. I'm all in, Maya, however long it takes. She read it twice, 3 times. Each word wrapped around her like a promise. Not the empty kind he'd made before, but the earned kind. The kind built on 3 months of 7:30 p.m. calls that never missed. On Saturdays that turned into full days, on transparency about struggles and phone calls to sponsors, and showing up even when it was hard. Maya set the phone on her nightstand, but didn't let go, her thumb resting against the screen. Outside, wind rattled her bedroom window. Inside, the apartment held the shape of the day, dishes washed together, Noah's laughter still echoing off the walls, Marcus's presence lingering in the space he'd occupied. She closed her eyes, his message glowing behind her eyelids. However long it takes. She fell asleep holding her phone, feeling something she hadn't allowed herself in 3 years, the dangerous, terrifying, beautiful weight of hope. Maya stood outside the community center at 6:50 p.m., breath fogging in the December cold. Marcus shifted beside her, radiating nerves. You don't have to come in if you're not comfortable. 3rd time he'd offered an escape. Maya squeezed his hand. I want to understand this part of your life. They entered together at 7. The basement room held a circle of folding chairs, a struggling coffee maker in the corner. 15 people already filled the space, early 20s to late 60s, construction workers and office professionals, united by the same demon. Several greeted Marcus with genuine warmth, clearly familiar faces. This is someone very important to me, Marcus said simply when introducing Maya. Robert, the facilitator from Miami, smiled. Anyone is welcome here. Maya listened as people shared. A woman described fighting the urge after seeing a casino billboard. An older man celebrated 1 year sober, voice shaking with pride. A young person grieved a relationship destroyed by their addiction. When Marcus's turn came at 7:30, he stood. Hi, I'm Marcus. I'm a compulsive gambler. It's been 6 months since my last bet. Hi, Marcus, the room responded. Today is important. He took a breath. 6 months ago, I was terrified I'd never reach this point. I'd been in recovery for over a year, but 6 months ago was when I took the risk of reconnecting with the people I'd hurt most, my son and his mother. His glance found Maya, the woman I love, who's here tonight. Maya nodded encouragement. I told myself I didn't deserve forgiveness or another chance, but my sponsor reminded me that recovery is about showing up anyway. So I showed up, and incredibly, miraculously, they let me in. Slowly, carefully, they let me try. His voice strengthened. Now I'm 6 months into proving I can be the father and partner they deserve. I'm still scared every day that I'll mess up, but I'm more committed than scared. He gestured around the room. I wanted Maya here tonight because this is part of my life forever. Recovery isn't something I complete and move on from. It's who I am now, and if she's going to build a life with me, she needs to know that. The meeting ended at 8:30 with the Serenity Prayer. Several members approached Maya afterward, welcoming her warmly. A woman in her late 40s, Sarah, pulled her aside. You're brave to be here. It takes courage to love someone in recovery. She studied Maya's face. But I can tell he's one of the good ones, doing the work for real. If you ever need to talk, there's Al-Anon meetings for families. She pressed a card into Maya's hand. Marcus appeared, anxiety written across his features. They walked to their cars through the December night at 8:45. Maya finally spoke. Thank you for letting me come, for showing me that part of your world. What did you think? Maya chose honesty. I think it's harder than I realized. Not just for you, for me too. Because this is forever. You'll be going to meetings when we're old. You'll always have to be vigilant, and that means I'll always have to be understanding of that. Marcus nodded, expression serious. Yes, that's the reality. If that's too much, it's not too much. Maya cut him off. It's just real, and I'd rather know the reality and choose it anyway than pretend it'll be easier than it is. They stood by Maya's car at 9. Marcus pulled a small box from his pocket, not a ring box, something else. Inside lay a chip, bronze-colored. "This is my 6-month chip." He held it up to the streetlight. "It represents 182 days of choosing recovery, of showing up for meetings, of being honest, of building toward the life I want." His eyes found hers. "I'm going to keep earning these, 9 months, 1 year, 5 years, 50 years. And I want you there to see every single one if you'll let me." Maya took the chip, felt its weight in her palm, then handed it back. He replaced it carefully in his pocket. "I want to be there, for all of them." Then the words she'd been afraid to say, "I love you, still, again, always. I don't think I ever stopped, but I'm done being afraid to say it." Marcus's face broke into the most genuine smile she'd ever seen. "I love you too, so much, more than I can express." They kissed in the parking lot, illuminated by streetlights, and it felt like a beginning rather than a continuation of something old. As they separated to their respective cars, 9:15 p.m., Marcus called after her. "Maya?" She turned back, keys in hand. "I know we said we'd wait until after holidays to tell Noah we're officially together, but would you and Noah want to spend Christmas with me? Real Christmas together?" The question hung in the cold air between them. Maya watched his face, hope and fear battling there, the expression of a man who'd learned not to assume anything. "We'd love that." His shoulders dropped with relief. "But Marcus," she closed the distance between their cars, "I don't want to wait until after the holidays. Let's tell him this weekend. He deserves to know his parents love each other and are building something real." Marcus looked like she'd given him the world. His eyes filled, and he pressed his hand over his mouth for a moment before speaking. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. About you. About us. About this." She meant every word. The meeting tonight had shown her the reality, the lifelong work, the daily commitment, the vulnerability. And she was choosing it anyway, choosing him anyway. Marcus stepped forward and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight against his chest. She felt his heart hammering, felt the shudder of emotion running through him. "Thank you," he whispered into her hair, "for believing in me, for giving me this chance. You earned it." They held each other in the parking lot while other GA members walked past to their cars, smiling at the young couple embracing in the cold. Finally, they separated. Maya climbed into her car, started the engine. Her phone buzzed before she'd even pulled out of the spot. Marcus: "Saturday morning? We tell him together?" Maya: "Saturday morning. Together." Marcus: "And Christmas, I want to do it right. Tree, presents, the whole thing." Maya: "The whole thing." She drove home through Boston streets already decorated with holiday lights, mind spinning with plans, Christmas trees and presents, and telling Noah that Daddy wasn't just visiting anymore. Daddy was coming home for real, just slowly. Another text came through at a red light. Marcus: "I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret this." Maya smiled at her phone, typed back quickly. "Maya, I know you will, that's why I'm saying yes." The light changed. She drove toward her apartment where Noah slept, toward the future she was choosing, toward the family they were rebuilding. The week between Thanksgiving and Christmas had transformed everything. Christmas morning arrived with Thunder, 4-year-old Thunder named Noah, specifically, who crashed into Maya's bedroom at 6:30 a.m. Mommy, Santa came and Daddy's here." Maya registered that last part through her grogginess. Marcus had stayed over last night, sleeping on the couch so he could be here for Christmas morning. Their first overnight, 2 weeks ago, when they'd finally told Noah that Mommy and Daddy loved each other and were building their family back together. His reaction had been pure joy, followed by the practical, "So Daddy can sleep here now?" "Not yet," they'd explained. "Still taking steps, but soon." She found Marcus already awake in the living room at 6:35, rumpled and happy, clearly roused by Noah's elephantine approach. He'd pulled on his glasses, hair sticking up on one side. "Merry Christmas," he said, eyes soft. Noah grabbed both their hands, dragging them to the tree. The morning unfolded with the particular magic of a child's Christmas, Noah tearing through his modest pile of presents, while Marcus and Maya sat close on the couch, shoulders touching. Marcus had brought thoughtful gifts: books, a building set, a stuffed elephant Noah immediately named Edward. He also had a small wrapped box for Maya. Inside was a framed photo from the Miami beach day, all 4 of them, Maya and Marcus and Noah and Claire, looking exactly like what they were becoming. Maya's throat closed. "It's perfect." Her gift to Marcus was heavier. She handed him a small envelope. He opened it, and a key fell into his palm. Not to move in yet, Maya said quickly, but so you can come and go. So you're really part of this home. Marcus stared at the key like it was made of light. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. Thank you. Grace arrived at 11, took in the scene, Marcus clearly having spent the night, the domestic intimacy, Noah's blazing happiness, and simply pulled Maya into a hug. Merry Christmas, baby. She turned to Marcus. Merry Christmas, Marcus. The acceptance in her voice landed like a blessing. Claire joined them at noon, and the day filled with cooking and chaos and Christmas music. Maya watched Marcus move through her kitchen with easy familiarity, watched Grace hand him dishes without hesitation, watched Noah demand his father read the instructions for every new toy. This was everything she'd dreamed of 3 years ago and thought she'd lost forever. Around 3, while Grace and Claire handled cleanup and Noah napped, Maya and Marcus stepped onto her small balcony. The city stretched quiet and cold below them. Marcus wrapped his arms around her from behind. A year ago, I was alone in my studio on Christmas, going to a meeting, believing I'd lost you both forever. Maya leaned back against his chest. A year ago, I was here with Noah trying to make Christmas special, while he asked about his daddy. Around 9 p.m., Noah finally surrendered to sleep after fighting exhaustion for the past hour. Marcus carried him to bed, tucking the blankets around his small frame with a tenderness that still made Maya's chest ache. They returned to the couch, settling in with the quiet ease of people who'd survived storms together. Maya reached for her phone to set it on silent before the movie started. The screen lit up with a new message. She opened it, scanning the words, then went still. "What?" Marcus asked, noticing her expression. She handed him the phone without speaking. The message was from Anthony Marquez, the Las Vegas treatment director, who'd reached out periodically over the past months, checking in, offering resources, providing the kind of support that came from someone who'd seen too many families destroyed. "Merry Christmas, Maya. I hope this message isn't intrusive. I wanted to share something. Last week I was reviewing program statistics, and I pulled Marcus's file. Do you know he's attended 486 consecutive GA meetings? Never missed one, not even when traveling. He's in the top 1% of our graduates for sustained commitment. Whatever you're doing, however you're supporting him, it's working. Not many addicts make it this far, this strong. Thought you should know." Anthony Marcus read it once, then again. His hands trembled slightly. 486 meetings. His voice came out rough. "I never counted." Maya shifted closer, threading her fingers through his. "That's almost 2 years of showing up. Every 3 days you showed up. Because I had something to show up for." He set the phone down, turning to face her fully. "You and Noah, this family, this life, on the hardest days, when I was exhausted, when work was brutal, when every part of me just wanted to stay home, I went anyway. Because missing one meant risking everything." She cupped his face, thumbs brushing away the tears tracking down his cheeks. "You did that, not me. You chose it." "I chose it because you were worth choosing." He pulled her into his arms, holding tight. "Because Noah deserved a father who showed up. Because I'd already lost you once, and I'd rather die than lose you again." They stayed wrapped together as the Christmas tree lights blurred through Maya's tears. 486 meetings. 486 times he'd chosen recovery over comfort, accountability over isolation, this family over the easier path of giving up. "Top 1%, Maya whispered against his shoulder. "You're in the top 1%. We're in the top 1%. His voice broke. "Because you believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Late March, sunlight filtered through Maya's apartment windows, illuminating the organized chaos of moving boxes. Marcus crouched beside the entertainment center, shelving his books alphabetically while Noah helped by pulling them back out to examine the covers. "Daddy, why do you have so many boring books?" Noah held up a finance textbook with suspicion. Marcus laughed, ruffling his son's hair. "That's from before I learned what actually matters." Maya emerged from the bedroom, surveying the progress. 3 months since Christmas. 3 months of family therapy sessions where Noah had drawn pictures of my whole family, with 3 stick figures holding hands. 3 months of Marcus attending every meeting, every therapy appointment, every bedtime routine. And now, finally, his name on the lease beside hers. The apartment door opened, Grace arriving with a casserole dish that smelled like comfort and acceptance. "Where do you want this?" She didn't add, "Welcome home," but her eyes said it clearly enough. "Kitchen counter is perfect, Mom." Maya hugged her, grateful for the journey they'd traveled together, from Grace's protective fury on that Miami hotel hallway to this moment of blessing. Claire arrived 30 minutes later with champagne and a bouquet of sunflowers. For the new beginning, they gathered in the small living room, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and the physical evidence of lives merging. Marcus opened the champagne, pouring carefully, while Noah watched with fascination. Grace raised her glass. To second chances earned through hard work. To family, Claire added, eyes shining. Marcus looked at Maya, holding her gaze as he lifted his glass. To the woman brave enough to believe in change. Maya's throat tightened. To the man who proved it was possible. They drank, and Noah demanded apple juice in his plastic cup so he could toast too. To Daddy living here forever. The adults exchanged glances, Noah's innocent certainty both precious and terrifying. Forever was a promise Marcus couldn't make. But today, this moment, this choice to build together, that he could offer. By 4 o'clock, the warm March afternoon pulled them outside. Marcus stood at the small patio grill, flipping burgers with the concentration of someone grateful for ordinary tasks. Noah kicked his new soccer ball across the grass, while the women watched from lawn chairs. Grace leaned toward Maya, voice quiet. He's good at this. The dad thing, the partner thing. Maya smiled, watching Marcus glance over to check on Noah's distance from the fence. Yeah, he really is. I was wrong about him. Grace's admission came slowly. Each word weighted. Not about being cautious, you needed that, but about